Oddities, late night movies with Rob and Zack. This is a podcast about cinematic oddities where we discuss any media that is too bizarre, abnormal, or off-kilter for contemporary audiences. Occasionally these projects gel. Most times they crash hard into the realm of obscurity. Join us as we delve into the cult classic swamp. I'm Zack.
And I go out, I work my butt off to make a living. All I want is to come home to a nice clean house with a nice fat steak on the table. But instead I get this. It looks like poison. Don't you take that away. I'm eating that, damn it. It is poison, isn't it? I swear to God, I would not be surprised if it was. The way you skulk around here like a dog that's been hit too much or ain't been hit enough. I can't make up my mind. You're useless, Beatrice. The only thing that pulls its weight around here is my goddamn truck. Break for applause, thank you. But, oh man, oh geez, Zach. This is a doozy. I have to say, we are still in our time travel series. I think that's exactly why we pitched or, talked about Men in Black 3. But Zach had the fantastic idea to pair it up with the original Men in Black. And Zach, thank you for convincing me of this, because I was thinking about separating all three. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to watch one of the greatest Vincent D'Onofrio performances of all time, I believe.
It's possibly one of the most interesting makeup jobs in blockbuster cinema.
Oh my, interesting makeup job, interesting physical performance, the way that he moves, and just, I mean, no surprise here. Or maybe, I don't know if anybody's, would think I don't like this movie. I love the Men in Black series. I'm sure we'll talk more about that with context. I've watched this movie, the first one, since I was a kid. So many of D'Onofrio's lines have stuck with me, even before I remembered or knew it was Vincent D'Onofrio, like before my Criminal Intent, Law and Order phase and stuff like that. But just everything. The,
Okay. Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you for making sure the bell works. What's up, Farmer John?
Oh, a man came in here earlier. A dead man.
And that means what to me?
He was a very dear friend of mine. I believe he had an animal with him. It was a gift I gave him. A pet cat. It means worlds to me. I'd like to have it back.
A gift I gave him many years ago. A pet cat, and then at the end he's like, I put my hands on my head like this. Oh, Jesus Christ, Zach, it's so good.
Oh, you idiots! You don't get it! I've won! It's over! You're milk, suckers! You don't matter! In fact, in a few seconds, you won't even be matter.
You're under arrest for violating sections 4153 of the Tycho Treaty.
So hand over whatever galaxy you might be carrying and step away from your busted-ass vehicle and put your hands on your head.
I'll put my hands on my head. Like this?
And to think that he's so reserved as Bobby Gorin in Criminal Intent, and here he is spazzing out to the maximum.
That's Vincent D'Onofrio is such truly one of the, again, unique is thrown around, but he's done everything.
Yes,
he's done high art, he's done commercial, he's done schlock, versatile, and to the point where you almost wonder, because the most high profile thing he's done as of late is the goddamn Marvel TV show.
Yeah,
which is a more watered down performance than the one he gave 5 years ago when he originally did that.
Sure, yeah, I haven't seen it in the what is it, Hawkeye? He's in,
yeah.
From what I remember. I did see the as Ben and I have talked about on here, the Daredevil show, and he's the best part about it, of course. Well, I think because I'm biased towards Vincent D'Onofrio. But he is a good character in that show. And so, I mean, I love me some D'Onofrio. We'll talk about him as the Bug. I mean, it's stuck with me for so long. A pet cat. But also, I mean, let me just say, always great to see Carol Struycken in anything, right? The fireman himself.
Well, I forgot that he was in this because I saw him and I'm like, of course. Okay, yes, it was good to see him, but the movie needed more of him, not specifically him, but actors like him.
Yes, definitely. The humans that look like they could be aliens.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it was a Barry Sonnenfeld. We're here again, everybody. Barry Sonnenfeld after Wild Wild West. We got one movie pre-Wild Wild West, post-Wild Wild West. I think this was definitely him saying, because he's Lurch in the Addams Family movies, so I think this was definitely him saying, oh, get thrown in. But I totally know what you're saying. Like, get more of these people who just, like, you look at them and they're just visually interesting.
Exactly. Visually interesting probably being the best way to describe it.
Yes, the most politically correct way, absolutely. even though Carol Sturkett is I think he's, a very good-looking person. He's not like the bearded lady or anything. He's just very tall and very bony.
Well, he's different. It's funny because like the whole time, because when I see him, I think of the fireman. That's just why I call him.
Sure.
And as I was watching this, I'm like, is that Michael Berryman? Like, I just kept thinking of that. And I'm like, no, different weird looking bald gentleman. Like, that's.
I like that.
Michael Berryman, Carol Sturkett too. Like, it's like the equal signs just perfectly in the middle there in my brain.
Yes. I mean, also, we have to mention, while we're on the topic of cast, always great to get a Rip Torn joint in here. We love us some Rip Torn. Some minor things I didn't remember. The truck driver in the cold open of the movie, maybe not cold open, but, after, in the first scene, the truck driver is Jonathan Grease, Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, and Ben Linus's dad from Lost. He just has, 3 lines of dialogue or something like that. I haven't seen this movie in quite some time, but I remembered so much of it because I feel like I quote it all the time. A pet cat. But, this was great to see all these people. I'm so glad we got to revisit it. And also, I am glad I got to rewatch Men in Black 3, which I think I've only seen, twice before this, compared to, the hundreds of times I watched Men in Black when I was a kid.
Well, I have to ask, was a Men in Black an HBO staple for you, or was this something you would just stumble upon regularly?
I'm glad you asked, because this was not an HBO one. This was actually a VHS that I would watch at my grandmother's house. So back when my mom's parents were still alive, and I think I've talked about
Women on the Moon.
Exactly, yes, from my grandfather. Back in the day when every weekend, I'd go down with my mom and help out with her parents, my grandparents. We'd always go down real early, and then I'd always kind of while they were doing whatever, my grandmother had a wall of VHSs, and there's a lot of movies from my childhood that were just I would just pick a movie and watch it. I mean, I think I've mentioned it. That's how I found out about Mouse Hunt. Mouse Hunt's a great movie, but they had that on VHS. Batman the Animated Series, they had all that on VHS. Jumanji, kind of all those classics that I feel like a lot of people have in our age bracket, like Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, all of those. Men in Black was one of them, and for some reason, I fell in love with it. I don't know if my mom or my grandma was like, oh, watch this one, or I picked it, but I fell in love with it. So much so, and yes, I know, Zach, this isn't the point of this conversation, but, we'll get into it'll bleed in a little bit, that when Men in Black 2 came out, we saw it in theaters. Me, my mother, and my grandmother. So yeah, I have a deep, deep love for Men in Black, and I'd say I love the whole trilogy, and I know we're not talking about 2 yet, but 2 is fucking crazy, and I love it, and I just have to mention, Lara Flynn Boyle in that movie was very formative for me as a 10-year-old.
Okay, can we talk? Oh, no, we're not.
No,
okay,
we can't. Yes, I do. I also want to point out, for all of the people listening to this, you've seen the title of this episode. You are not mistaken. It does say Men in Black and Men in Black 3. We are holding off on 2, but we will get to it, everybody. Don't worry.
That's the thing. Because again, we were great. Spoiler alert: we will get Men in Black 2 for the 2002 Fort month. That will be coming sooner rather than later. But yeah, my history with Men in Black really it's almost I can boil it down to maybe 3 talking points, almost
okay.
Much like Rob's grandmother, my father had beyond his hundreds of movies that he recorded off of HBO in the late 80s, he had 4 store-bought movies that people bought for him. He never bought them for themselves. It was Jurassic Park, Tin Cup, the Rene Russo movie.
Interesting.
And one of them was Men in Black. But for the longest time, I used to have Men in Black on VHS, Men in Black 2 on DVD, and Men in Black 3 on Blu-ray. It was one of those weird instances where, with every movie's release, I graduated to the next form of, home video collecting.
Yep.
And so, basically, I have no idea. I saw Men in Black 2 in theaters as well, and my biggest takeaway was the Terminator 3 teaser trailer played in front of it, which I'm pretty sure we talked about, how many years ago?
This is coming back to me now. This is ringing a bell, yep.
So, no, and that's the thing. So, I remember for the longest time, even back, it was like Greg's previews on Yahoo. Like Men in Black 3 was one of those movies that was like always on there. Is that like, oh, it was like up there with Jurassic Park 4. In that like, are we going to get another one?
Mm-hmm.
And like you would follow the headlines and you would see stuff like, oh, it's on, oh, it's off. Like, oh, well, Will Smith is doing this, this, and this now. Like nobody knows if this is his priority like at the current time. So I really like I stopped caring because it really was like Will Smith at that point. Like I really did not like Will Smith as an actor. I still kind of don't.
Okay.
Because like at this time, like in the late 2000s, early 2010s. Oh God, not even. He didn't even really have an acting career in the early 2010s. He was essentially Jaden and Willow's manager.
Yeah.
And so like what was 7 pounds?
Yeah,
or,
isn't
like,
there? I think there's a break. It's 7 pounds and then 4 years until Men in Black 3, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Yes, the Bastion of Truth IMDb corroborates it. That's really a trivia fact for this movie on IMDb. It's that like there was a 4-year gap.
Yeah.
That's not trivia. That's that's like doing math. Like it's not
exactly
even trivia.
Yeah, we don't need to look to the Bastion of Truth IMDb trivia. We could look at a calendar.
Exactly. So like I remember when this movie like came out in 2012, Men in Black 3. I'm sorry, not when it came out, but like in the lead up to it, the main I don't even want to say memory, just the main thing that I kind of came of that time period was the fact that like this movie shut down production for like 3 months. They could rewrite the script.
Yes.
Probably one of the earliest like really examples of that hitting like mainstream circles. And then so when the movie eventually came out, it was kind of like it was also in the summer of 2012, so it kind of got like caught up in like the nonsense of Avengers, Dark Knight, Spider-Man, in my case Prometheus. Sure. And so I got it for like I think Christmas that year on Blu-ray. I watched it once and I was just like, this is bad. Like I did not like it at all. And so I have not rewatched it except for today's recording where I had to sit there, obviously had to revisit it.
And did you love it?
I love the second half of it. The first third is an abject nightmare. It's almost as if like imagine if you took the latter canon of American Pie movies and it made a movie.
Okay, right on.
Like there was a very specific point in this movie where in Men in Black 3 where I was so angry I wanted to turn it off.
Ooh, okay. I can't wait to hear about it. Right on. So how many times, I think you might have been getting at this, but just to clarify, so for the original Men in Black, was that a big like staple of your childhood? I know you said you kind of forgot about it after a while, but was that something you rewatched a bunch?
No.
Okay.
No, it was on VHS. Like I honestly, I don't think I got like a decent copy of that until like the Blu-ray, like maybe like a year ago. I think there was like a Black Friday sale and like it was like the Men in Black trilogy for like $6.
Sure. That sounds about right.
Like, yeah. And like, no, I would say I had more appreciation of Men in Black is just like this weird thing that would show up like in movie production, like gossip. And that like probably my most interesting facet to me of Men in Black is the fact they want to do a crossover with Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill.
Yes. One of the fantastic reveals from the Sony email hacks that was later confirmed. Yep.
Yeah. And to me, that will always be like kind of the most interesting thing that comes of the Men in Black franchise is that like what could have been.
Yes.
For such a fantastic concept, they've really never been ambitious with it.
Sure. I see what you're saying. Okay.
But no, the first Men in Black was something that like I was always aware of it. I was never a Will Smith kid. Like everybody used to just kind of like swoon over him, even in elementary school, like reruns of The Fresh Prince. And I'm like, I don't like Will Smith as an actor. I really don't. Like he has his moments. But like by the time that I kind of I grasped him as like an actor, he was smarmy. Like Hancock.
Sure.
Like Hancock is just, I've never seen that movie. All I know is the preview where it's a homeless person is Superman. I'm like, that's not interesting. And yet like it made like $1 billion, I think almost like $1 billion before that like became a regular thing. It was that point where like Will Smith was annoying. It's like, go away. Like, no, go away.
Sure.
And I really only ever knew him from Men in Black 2. in Wild Wild West, of course, because Wild Wild West is the greatest film to ever be made by human beings.
Yeah, I was trying to remember how much we got into Will Smith in the Wild Wild West episode. I think we might have said some of our thoughts on him, because I'm with you, Zach. If I didn't say it there, I'll say it here. I'm also not the biggest fan of his. I actually kind of think it takes until 3 for him to feel good in the role of Jay, or at least for me. He's kind of a little clunky in the first one, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I remember in the Wild Wild West episode, we talked more about how him and his relationship with his kids is really weird.
Well, that's the thing. Like we spent a lot of time in that Wild Wild West discussion, breaking it down, being like, this was somebody that like at the mid '90s was at the height of their power,
Absolutely.
like could move mountains.
Yep.
And he really, again, like he didn't try to do anything really to, oh God, like he did, everything was vanity with Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
It was always about growing his career or growing his just footprint.
Sure.
And he didn't, and to this day, that's what he's still doing. He's realizing how to pick and choose his battles better. And that's why I've always found him kind of unlikable. I think I remember even once, like Rob and I were in high school, we were talking about him like on the Ellen show, and Rob was just like, yeah, he's kind of depressing. Like he's just kind of like rambling on. I'm like, it was like one, like, it's those weird memories that I don't know why, just like it came back to me, like just thinking about these movies. But no, like Will Smith, again, like he's charming in certain specific moments, but then you have to realize that like that's all an act.
Oh,
The charming thing is an act. It's not. It might be real in certain moments, but then you have to realize that like he's realized this is his cachet, so he's got to play it constantly.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think even when he tries to branch into the dramatic stuff, I don't think that really clicks either. And I mean, that seems to be what he's still kind of doing these days. I mean, what, King Richard, the Serena and Venus Williams movie? You know, I didn't see that or anything, but the trailers were focused on him and him being, you know, that dad. And from the research I did when that movie's coming out, he's not the best figure, and it seems like they're charming him up a little bit. But I think you're saying exactly what this is getting at, is that it's, you know, he has to be charming, he has to be likable.
Well, yeah, and that's why, like, if you look at his career in the 90s, you get why he became a superstar. The thing is that, like, anybody who would have watched how many seasons of Fresh Prince should have realized that, like, it's one note. Like, it's the Ryan Reynolds thing now. Like, where it's like everybody still swoons over Ryan Reynolds, but, like, he has one shtick and he plays it for everything.
Yes.
Whether it be Deadpool, Green Lantern, Pikachu, Free Guy. Like, it's not smarmy, but just, like, wise ass.
Absolutely.
A charming, attractive wise ass. And it's like, we've seen this before. Like, it's so tired. And that's why even in Men in Black 3, like, again, Rob will talk about Men in Black 2. I specifically did not rewatch that. I did not touch that. So I'm going to not reference that at all. But in the third one, like, there's not, like, he's just phoning that in. Like, I really, like watching Men in Black 3, I don't know why they even made that movie. Like, except for the fact that obviously it was a Sony decision.
Yeah.
I don't know why that film exists. I think it's a film that almost finds a purpose beyond what the studio, like, scope was.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, Men in Black to me is, I think, like I was saying, like, because I love all these movies. It's probably part nostalgia, part other thing. I don't think I hold it in high regard, you know, as we talked about when we discussed all the Matrix movies, where they're like my religious texts, you know. But that's something I never looked into, which I'm sure I wanted to pick your brain on. You have more knowledge of, is exactly what you're saying. It's like, why make Men in Black 3? Because it is also kind of weird that it's Men in Black 1 to Men in Black 2 is 5 years, and then Men in Black 2 to Men in Black 3 is 10 years. Like, they're almost like very spaced apart in this very arithmetic way.
Well, yeah, well, it's because nobody wanted to do it. Like, the second one, like, comes out, like, I think everybody at the time looked at it, it's like, okay, we got away with it. And plus, at that time, too, Will Smith didn't want to do things like that. Like, he has Bad Boys 2. He becomes embarrassed. Like, he becomes weirdly embarrassed of that franchise for the longest time. And then he has, I, Robot and Shark Tale. And that's when he started to become, like, just, oh God, like a different shade of the big, like studio person, like studio actor. Like, almost, like, he almost graduated to a new phase of his career that, like, Tom Cruise never did. like almost became like a joke, like a parody of himself.
Sure.
In that sense, where like it's like imagine those Tropic Thunder fake promos, or what was it? Robert Downey Jr. and Tobey Maguire. It's like the silent monks. It's like
yes,
he
I think
became
it's called Satan's Alley. I think that's what that one's called.
But like that's what kind of it became. Like he became kind of so like self-revering, and that's what happened to him.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Oh God, now I'm trying. I think it's Satan's Alley. What is it? The farts or whatever is the Jack Black one, and then Booty Sweat from Al Pacino, Tropic Thunder. But no, I totally get what you're saying, and maybe to use this because I kind of knew we were coming in here with that we are not the biggest Will Smith fans. I'm glad you bring up Bad Boys because I don't really like either of the first two Bad Boys. I never saw the third one. Maybe as a transition. What do you think, though, about the chemistry between Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, which is kind of what these movies lean on in all three of them? You know, of course, in that first act, I think you said it about the first act of Men in Black 3, where you have Tommy Lee Jones before Brolin comes in. But what do you just think about their chemistry in general in the first one, where they're really, really, you know, using that as, I would say, kind of the backbone of the movie?
It's one of those things where you can't deny that people enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I don't know. Like it's Tommy Lee Jones is playing it so straight. And Will Smith is just like bouncing off the walls.
Yes. And there's a point where he literally causes something to bounce off the walls.
Well, yeah. And like, so no, like the whole Men in Black franchise, sans number 2 in International, which Rob probably won't even let me mention.
I don't even know what you're talking about. What is
exactly.
That?
I've never seen it, so I don't know what that is.
To be fair, I treat Men in Black International like how a lot of people treat the Indiana Jones trilogy, and they ignore the existence of Crystal Skull. I ignore the existence of International, partly not by choice, because I have seen it and I remember so little about it. It is vacuous.
Oh, yeah. But that's the thing, though, is that I think this entire franchise has a fantastic premise. And then, like, you just realize it's, like, boxed into this weird corner where everything has to revolve around aliens. Mm-hmm. Everything is about an extraterrestrial, cataclysmic event that's going to wipe out the Earth. And it's just that, like the Men in Black did, like, I know, like, Men in Black's based on, like, obviously, the movies, like a comic book thing.
Yeah.
But, like, at the same time, though, is it, like, we talked about it years ago. I think it was with, Zenger. Like, he explained to us, like, the whole history of, like, the Men in Black. There's so much lore, like, attached to them as these weird, like, mythical entities.
Yep.
And it's like, this is what it is. It's just, like, intergalactic customs. Like that in, like, intergalactic TSA. I'm like, this is so, like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was bored for almost both of these movies. Except for maybe the last 45 minutes. I'd say... probably the last 45 minutes of 3. Outside that last 45 minutes, I was at best bored, and at worst just, like, angry at the movies.
Okay. I can't wait to hear about the moments you were angry. But I like this. I like these episodes where we're coming at it from grossly different perspectives because, man, these movies flew by for me. I had so much fun rewatching these, and I did all 3 in, like, 2 days.
Isn't the second movie like 68 minutes long? Like, isn't that second movie like barely
it's
an
the
hour?
same length as the first one. It's 90 minutes. The third
Is
one,
it?
Yeah, it is.
Are you sure?
Definitely.
I feel this is like another Venom where like the credits are like 15 minutes long for like an 85-minute long movie.
I did not look at the credits, so you might be correct there. But it is definitely not significantly shorter. But I mean, that was another thing that I've kind of found refreshing is that the first one's 90 minutes, and it's a tight 90 minutes.
I felt the length of that first
man.
That first movie, like, I'm sitting there, and, like, again, I get it was 90s cinema. It's meant to be, like, kind of cute and quaint, but, like, this is Will Smith immediately following up Independence Day.
Yes. Welcome to Earth. Yes.
Yes. And so, like, this was always going to be primed for success. But, like, again, like, looking at it now, I just couldn't just, like, again, like, Vincent D'Onofrio is a lot of fun. Like, again, I have to say, like, Rick Baker, his makeup, like, that is the true standout of these movies.
Oh, yeah.
But I also, like, but it's also thing, like, a lot of stuff that was cute in these movies, again, more the first one, like Frank the Pug, the worms. I feel like the culture just like ran into the ground.
Okay, I know what you're saying.
Because think about it, like Frank the Talking Pug, it's its own like subcategory on TikTok now.
Okay, I totally know what you mean. I did not expect you to go there, but I totally know what you mean.
And that's where, like, again, I don't know how. Again, like, I did not enjoy the first movie. Like, I was like, even the very beginning,
okay,
where like they're pulling over, like even like the beginning, where like, oh, they're pulling over like the truck of migrants, and you have this entire thing, and they shoot the alien, like it just explodes, and I'm just like, and he's like going through the entire thing, and I'm just like, this is boring. Like, it's just like, what is, like, if I was watching this in 1997,
yes,
I would be so confused and bored. I'd just be like, what just happened? Like, think about it. Like, we take so much of like the, cryptozoological stuff, again, going back to Zenger and all that, like for granted now, like intrinsic into like the culture we live in. And it's like at the time, like again, I bet if you asked my mother and father knew what Men in Black was back in like the early 2000s. If you were to sit there and tell them about the whatchamacallit, like people that went around and like covered up all these weird supernatural things, they wouldn't know. Like they would think it's a Will Smith movie with Tommy Lee Jones.
Sure. So I think what you're saying is kind of like what Chris Columbus's Gremlins did. Like, nobody thinks Gremlins are the things that, you know, damaged World War I planes and stuff like that. They now see
weird,
them
like
as
quirks and machinery.
Exactly. Now they see them as the Mogwais and the Gremlins that, you know, they torture Gizmo for some reason, and Gizmo's the cute one, and we like him. So you're saying like Men in Black has done that for the mythos, the American mythos of Men in Black has been replaced by the movie.
No. Well, yes, but I wouldn't even. You know what it is? It's almost the opposite. Because it's funny, because like in preparation for this, I do the thing I normally do, because I was really curious to see what the consensus was on Men in Black 3.
Sure.
Since it being released almost 10 years ago. And when I typed in Men in Black 3, like on YouTube, there are practically like no retrospectives.
Wow.
Nobody is analyzing the third movie.
Okay.
Nobody. Which means nobody cares. And in 2, you type Men in Black 3 into like podcast like aggregators, and guess what? Like, it's all about the cryptozoological supernatural stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's almost all about that. And I'm like, I had to like type in Men in Black with like 2012, and then I got some movie reviews. I know it's the opposite of that. Whereas like in 1997, like, I think people just went to see this because it had Will Smith's name on it. I think it didn't matter.
I could totally believe that at the time, for sure.
I think that's why, like, you look at this, like, this is such a non-starter of a franchise, because I don't think anybody went to this movie in 1997 because the premise was novel. I think they went for something that doesn't really exist anymore, star power. And I think, Will Smith made a funny is just kind of like sugar-coated it. And I think that's what it was. Like, there was just enough comedy that people just excused it not being a particularly good movie. Okay, and I think that's why every one of these movies has been unsuccessful. Every sequel has been unsuccessful to some degree.
Sure. Yeah, that's something I didn't, just from, like, I've already explained my history with it, but just from, like, the people I hang around with and the people that I talk to, you know, I have gotten the sense that Men in Black is well-loved, but I think it's because of, you know, just the right place, right time, like the people I talk to.
I will say I would say Men in Black is in that same weird sort of umbrella term of the Blade Runner effect. I think a lot of people watched that movie as a kid and they cannot remove the nostalgia from it. I think it's one of those ones where I think if you were to show somebody Men in Black, like, okay, my own thing, Rachel and I watched this, I'm rewatching it, she watched it for the first time, and she fell asleep during it. Like, I mean, and she's not one of those. She does not fall asleep during movies easily. And she just, like, nope. Because nothing happens. Like, beyond the ending where they're shooting the World's Fair starship out of the sky, is there anything exciting, thrilling in this movie? Objectively, from a blockbuster perspective, like Will Smith getting shot out of the sky by an alien craft, and then like he tries to get into the cockpit to see what it looks like, and it starts attacking him. He punches it and goes, "Welcome to Earth."
Sure.
There is not a single moment in this movie that has anything even comparable to that. Like in I don't want to say adrenaline, but just in a manner that gets a rise out of an audience. It's just, oh God, Tommy Lee Jones makes a. Oh God, we don't want to say it. Just like a very stoic remark, Will Smith makes a snide remark back. It's just that ad nauseum. with some really good visual, like makeup.
Sure. No, I get what you're saying, and I think you hit the nail on the head of the way that I was the thing that I was really trying to parse through, because when I rewatched the first one, so just talking about the first one right now, of course that's where I started. I didn't do any crazy, out of order viewing or anything like that. When I watched the first one, that's at the end of it, I was kind of like, that's the thing. Is this just a huge nostalgia bug for me? Which there's a part of it. I'm not denying that that's a part of my love for this movie, but I love this movie so much, even on rewatch, that I was like, is this a big nostalgia bug? Because honestly, when I finished the first one, Zach, I was like, this is a perfect movie to me. And I get what you're saying, that there's nothing really like super exciting. I mean, there's set pieces, like you think of Will Smith with the giving birth to the squid baby, that's a scene. You have the whole thing with Linda Fiorentino and finding the little alien in the head, or the Archillian, in the head of the guy. Gentle Rosenberg, I think, is the character's name or whatever. You're right that there's nothing really thrilling, but for some reason for me it clicks so well. But that's what I'm saying, is I don't know how to separate something like the nostalgia.
It's comfort food. It's comfort food.
Absolutely. I mean, don't get me wrong. It absolutely is comfort food. I don't think this is like one of my favorite movies ever. Like, I don't think this is something I can dissect like I would, with a deeper meaning in some of the movies I absolutely love. I think it is a very, popcorn-esque type movie. But I mean, I find it very funny. I like a lot of the moments. I think a lot of it really works for me and clicks for me. And it really is like, it's very simple. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Bug comes to Earth. Will Smith gets involved with this. They got to stop the bug. They got to get the galaxy. Tiny little mystery to unravel. Very, very tiny mystery to unravel. And then kind of big action scene at the end. So I'm with you that it is kind of, I don't think vacuous is the right word. I think, it's very popcornish, maybe, to use that term.
It's superficial.
Again.
It's very
superficial for sure. And I fucking love it.
That's fine. Like I said, I don't want. This is not one of those times where like I'm gonna sit there, tell anybody they're wrong for enjoying this. It's just, again, it's the thing that frustrates me about the culture we live in, and it's not that anybody's really praising Men in Black hard. It's just that like this movie is only, I swear to God, it's like Blade Runner. If you were to sit there, take one of these people like who loves these movies, Ludovico technique them, and say, explain to me why it's good, and you can't say because I like. You can't say that. Yeah. Explain to me why this is objectively good.
I think that hits the nail on the head for me, is that I really can't answer those questions. I can just say that it is fundamentally enjoyable.
But again, I think the evidence I'm pointing at is that like the fact that none of these sequels has ever resonated.
Yes, sure.
It I think goes to show that like the first movie was a fluke, and I think a lot of people, like I said, it has just enough cutesy stuff in it that like, and then even like on storytelling terms, like on a narrative level, like things just don't make sense. Because like in the first moments of the film, we have Tommy Lee Jones just pulls out a gun and just shoots an alien, and it's like, okay, we're gonna neuralize like all the cops. Okay, like we've established the rules that these people basically can erase minds, they can kind of do whatever they want, and they have a very easy means of just kind of covering their tracks. And then like we have the moment where obviously Will Smith like has his little like pea shooter, and he's trying to shoot the truck, and like Kay's like, you can't do this, like and he's like, Kay, this is the end of the world, we have to do this. And Tommy Lee Jones is like, that's every day. Get used to it, kid.
Yeah.
There's
always an Archillian battleship, or there's always a Cerulean cruiser. Yes.
And it's like you completely undermine the stakes at hand here. Completely to the point, like, why should I care?
I'm glad you bring that up. That it makes no sense narratively, and there's a lot of holes and stuff in here. Wait till you rewatch the second one, Zach. I don't know why I like it the most.
No. Second one's insanity. I just look up the runtime. The first movie's 98 minutes long. The second one is 88 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it's 10 minutes of credits because it plays the Will Smith song like on loop like 5 times. Like I have watched that second movie within the last 5 years. And I'm pretty sure that movie, like as in like the story, clocks out at like 74 minutes, sure, like maybe 76, like absolute like longest. Like that is a brief in and out movie. That second movie, like brief. Maybe that's why I like the second one.
Yeah, that's probably another reason I like it too. Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, I'm with you, and I think that you're right that these, like I said, these are not like the top of the list for me. Definitely not anywhere near the Matrix movies, to use a recent example, but yeah, I think it's coming at a place of subjective love, and when I try and analyze it through the Zack lens that he sometimes puts over my eyes, in the optometrist chair. He's like, which is better, my vision or my vision? That type of thing. Like, I totally get where you're coming from, but this is one of the ones where it makes me think of Rat Race when we did that last year, Maybe that was a little more contentious because I think you were like, this is so dumb. And I'm like, but Zach, it's a fun dumb,
The thing about the difference, though, is that, like, with Rat Race is, like, irreverent. Like, it's 2001 irreverence. So, like, I'm willing to forgive that in a way. Like, I was more disappointed.
Sure.
Again, that was Amanda's show level where, like, I held it in so high regard, hadn't watched it in forever. And then you watch it and you're like, there's nothing. Again, we've talked about with a lot of movies, like, half the fun going back to older movies is finding different layers you now appreciate them on.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it. Like, over time, it's not the art that changes, it's the viewer. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes some stuff just last forever, is because there's just so many different layers you appreciate every single year you watch it. And not to say you should expect that from Rat Race or Men in Black. There's just some fundamentals that aren't there that are so jarring that I don't know how anybody could have just kind of, like, let them go.
Sure.
And that's the thing. Like, it almost feels like some movie, again, it reminds me of our Venom 2 discussion, in that it's like the movie's just burning through itself. Like, it cannot wait to be over. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, like, if you're going to do that, then just, like, make it, like, neat. Like, give me my appetizer, give me my main course, and give me a dessert, and then, like, wrap it up. Let's go.
Sure. I hear you. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's something that we'll hash out more. This whole kind of grander philosophical idea about the first Men in Black when we get into some scenes and stuff. But on the topic of the love for this movie, which is something that I said I've seen a lot of just going through my life. I do have to agree with you that most of the people who seem to enjoy this movie, they are also Will Smith fans, and I think that plays a big role. I think it's very rare. I would say it's never happened that I've encountered another human being who goes, oh yeah, I love Men in Black for Vincent D'Onofrio, It's more of the time where I go, oh yeah, that's Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin, or, Bobby Gorin from Law & Order, and they're like, really? That type of thing. But I wanted to highlight this real quick because it gives us a little tangent into some other Cinemodities history. In 2019, Empire Magazine took a poll of its readers. So this is a reader poll, I want to make that clear, of the greatest movies of all time. And Men in Black came in 409th. So there is some love for it. But if you would allow me to digress a little bit, Zach, there are some other Cinemodities movies that we've covered on here. And I'm not going to go through all of them because, of course, we've covered some big ones. Unfortunately, the highest one on the list is Blade Runner at number 20. But I think we covered that in our Blade Runner discussion, that people have a weird love for that movie. I'd also wanted to mention Alien is 33, which I respect, but not high enough for me. Aliens is 30, which should not be on this list. And then, like Shining is at 52, The Shining is at 52, and stuff like that. But some of the ones that jumped out at me that I wanted to mention, I also have to mention Spirited Away is 339, and Nightmare Before Christmas is 327. One of the ones that surprised me, Midnight Run made it on there at 317, higher than Men in Black. That surprised me. I thought that was a forgotten movie until, we dug it up, that type of thing. One of the other ones that really surprised me, An American Werewolf in London was 107.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, that's something I know you had more history with, but that I was kind of shocked by. And AI was 265.
That is more surprising than anything.
And lastly, I have to mention, once again, I think reader poll, Eraserhead is 192.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
So I dug that up, and I thought that was pretty interesting when I did. And then, also, like, Mulholland Drive's in the high 300s, Airplane's on there at, like, mid 300s, Akira's at 440. I thought that was cool. And then, you get, like, The Matrix is 39, Terminator 2 is 35, and I think number one, I didn't write it down, but I think it was The Godfather.
Fight Club.
Fight Club was definitely in, like, the top 10. I think Godfather was number one. Yeah. I didn't write those down though, because we haven't covered those yet. I only wrote down the Cinemodities. But okay, Zach. So I think we've established where we're coming from for the first movie, and I kind of figured we'd separate these two. Since this is the time travel series, after all, we'll have to focus on the third one for the time travel, right?
Yeah, yeah, I guess we should focus. Like, it's barely focused on the third movie at all. Like, as a plot, I guess the thing I gotta give the third movie credit for is that, considering how in most movies the time travel element becomes like the core focal point of the story, I gotta give them credit for pretty much barely introducing it and then immediately discarding it.
Sure. Yeah, they don't rely on it too much. Well, I mean, they rely on it, don't get me wrong, especially with the final fight scene with one of the versions of Boris the Animal. But, you know...
Whoa.
It's just Boris! But while we're on the first one, of course, I mean, D'Onofrio, I'm just going to, keep citing D'Onofrio for this entire time. And when we get to Men in Black 2, I'm going to be saying, pet cat there as well, and don't worry, Zach, when we get to our snacks, we'll get to sugar in water, that type of thing. But tangential in the movie to Vincent D'Onofrio's character, one of my favorite things, I already mentioned, this movie has stuck with me for so long. I've been quoting it my whole life. Siobhan Fallon Hogan, who plays Beatrice, his wife, the scene when they go to her farm to talk to her, and she offers them the lemonade, and Will Smith spits it out because she has no sugar to make lemonade with, so it tastes disgusting, which I think would taste great if it's just lemons and water. But, the way she delivers those lines has always stuck with me, and I think that's a lot of what I want to say about the first one, is how these deliveries have just stuck in my head all these years. But the whole thing where she's like, it was like he was wearing Egger, like an Egger suit. And it's like, what is this accent or lisp or anything like that? I love it. I thought it was it's just stuck with me for so many years. There's something so, attractive to my ears. You know what I'm saying?
Chief of Police himself came up to the house and did a full-out professional investigation. Took a police report and wrote down everything I said, from A to Z, not believing one thing I said. Sort of poking fun at me. And they asked me if he was murdered, how was he able to walk back in the house? And I gotta admit to you, that one got me sort of stumped. But I'll tell you something right now. I know Egger, and that wasn't Egger. It's like something was wearing Egger. Like a suit. An Egger suit.
No, I get it. I get it. But again, there's some unique moments in this, and that's where I feel like there's a very specific reason why the Vincent D'Onofrio character is so far. Oh God, their stories are running parallel, but they don't intersect really until the very, very end.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, really, when Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones realize that they're looking for the cat. Absolutely.
Well, that's the thing. To the point where I almost think that probably the reason why that for the record, I should say Barry Sonnenfeld is probably a horrible director, somebody who deserves to be in director's jail. I wouldn't be surprised the Vincent D'Onofrio stuff was all second unit. That's why it resonates differently than the Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones stuff, and how flat and just kind of vanilla relative to the more unique stuff that happens with the Vincent D'Onofrio character.
Oh, that's an interesting idea. Yeah, I mean, Barry Sonnenfeld, I have not seen all of his movies. I will in the future, now that we've done Wild Wild West, and we will eventually finish the three Men in Blacks, later this year. We'll finish the second one. I will certainly be pushing uphill, just like I'm pushing up the hill, finishing the Matthew Bright filmography, finishing the Barry Sonnenfeld filmography. So one day, Zach, we'll get to talk about 9 Lives, where Kevin Spacey turns into a cat.
RV.
Yes. and what, For Love or Money with Michael J. Fox? I haven't seen that one.
Okay, Rob. We all know your fascination with oh God, what was his name? Oh God, your favorite filmmaker. Meet Joe Black.
Oh, Martin Brest.
Yes. In trying to find Hot Dogs for Gauguin?
Yes.
Okay. You are aware that half of Barry Sonnenfeld's filmography is TV show pilots that were not picked up by the network.
Definitely.
So there's your Mount Everest, Rob. If you can dig up all these, I think there's oh God. Did you know that? Okay, in my research, you might have known this, but I think I might drop a bombshell on you. Okay. This is an unintentional Cinemati's crossover.
Okay.
Are you aware that Barry Sonnenfeld directed the pilot for the Police Academy show? Or Beverly Hills Cop, pilot TV show?
I knew about the Beverly Hills Cop one, yeah. I did not know about Police Academy.
Oh, Police Academy, yeah, Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, yeah, I knew about the one. That was in the early 2010s. They tried to pick that up. Yeah, I know Ben and I mentioned that. And yes, he did that. And
it got rejected by the networks.
Yes. And I should say, I think I mentioned it in our Wild Wild West episode, but I'll bring it up again. I love the Netflix adaptation of A Series of Unfortunate Events, which he directed most of. But I think the key to that show and how fanciful those books are, dourly fanciful, I guess, is that he was working with Bo Welch for that. And I think that's why it makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I mean, that you're right. I think what as Didn't he do? It got picked up, of course, but wasn't Sonnenfeld involved with the Warburton Tick in the early 2000s? Didn't that happen? I think he was involved with that.
I don't know. That's
Okay.
one that I am not aware of.
But there's definitely a lot of stuff that he just kind of, didn't get off the ground for him, I guess, for sure.
But yeah, no, getting some moments from, like, okay, do we want to talk about the first film or the third film?
Let's talk about the first film because I think the third one is more of the one that I have a lot to say, because the first one I'm like, I've seen this so many times, I've stuck with it, I like these moments. I have a few I want to highlight, but I'm more interested with the first movie. Were there those moments that you were getting angry at it, like you were mentioning, or any in the first movie before we get to the third one?
In the first movie, it's, oh god, like I wouldn't even know, because like there's some really kind of fun moments. Like probably my favorite moment in either one of these movies is the moment where obviously Rip Torn has like Will Smith and all the other like military top of the thing, top of their class, which becomes a joke. That's probably my favorite scene in either one of the movies.
I quote that all the time. The best of the best of the best, sir, with honors. I say that quite a bit.
But that's at least funny, because like everybody, again, there's a level of relatability because everybody's been there at some point where you have that person who's trying to like overcompensate by displaying all their achievements.
What will follow is a series of simple tests for motor skills, concentration, stamina. I see we have a question.
I'm sorry, maybe you already answered this, but why exactly are we here?
Son?
Second Lieutenant Jake Jensen, West Point, graduate with honors. We're here because you're looking for the best of the best of the best, sir.
What's so funny, Edwards?
Your boy Captain America over here. The best of the best of the best, sir. With honors. He's just really excited and he has no clue why we're here. That's very funny to me. Y'all ain't laughing though.
And then even the thing at the end, the very practical approach where everybody is struggling trying to fill out this survey, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And obviously he eventually pulls the table that makes this horrible sound as he drags it across the floor.
Oh, I love that scene. I love that there's no score, that it's totally silent. I even love all the stuff when like Will Smith breaks the pencil, rips the page, breaks the pencil, and you're seeing all the people uncomfortable. Like Captain America over here. That's another part of the with honors line. And then, but oh my god, that stuff is so funny.
Like I said, that's fun. And then, like, I remember even the moment, like, immediately following that where it's the shooting exercise. Mm-hmm. And you go through the entire thing and Rip Torn goes up to him and it's like, so, like, explain what happened here.
Why did little Susie deserve to die?
And that's funny. Like, you get it, though. Like, it has all of its things where, like, okay. But, like, you watch that without understanding what this movie's about, because at this point the rules haven't really been explained to the universe.
Sure.
Like all we know is that like Tommy Lee Jones shot an alien in the desert and Will Smith like chased the guy who can run fast.
Yep.
And that's essentially it. So like you have him explaining it as if almost he's aware of the rules of the world before the audience is. Where I'm like, it's a funny moment in retrospect, like after you've seen the movie. It's almost like the Terminator I'll Be Back. Like, unless you've seen the movie, that moment means nothing to you.
Sure.
And it's like one of those weird chicken and the egg scenarios, like when it comes to like film pop culture. It's like, is this a funny moment, or is it a funny moment because like we all know through cultural osmosis what the context is for this?
I gotcha. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and that's an interesting point. I know. I think it was with Ben. You weren't around, but I've cited that scene with some problems where them using calculus. If you have a calculus textbook, you're smart, and where calculus is like one of the most basic classes you can take. But that's beside the point. But I see what you're saying. That the movie having maybe in the internal logic of the movie, in what you're saying, having all these recruits, the army guys and then the military guys and then, NYPD, Will Smith, having them shoot at the cardboard cutouts of aliens, it only really makes sense to us because we know the movie's about aliens. Because at that point, Will Smith in universe has been neuralized by Tommy Lee Jones and he takes him to the Chinese food restaurant. And
exactly.
So there's really no reason, like, shouldn't there have been a scene where Will Smith is like, in his very, goofball, maybe not goofball, but maybe a smarmier way or wise-ass way that he plays in this movie, like, why are we shooting these creatures or something like that? Like, not even say aliens, say like, what are all these things?
But like, this is the thing though, like clearly that moment is supposed to be telling the audience that like he has a clear disdain for authority, and he's somebody who doesn't follow the rules.
Yes.
Which the Men in Black are known for following their rules. Like, this is because they make a big point of, like, obviously, it comes out of nowhere at the very end of the movie that, like, oh, Agent K wants to, like, be done with this because he misses his wife.
Yeah.
Which they never really explain. Even in the sequel, it's very poorly explained as to what is going on with her.
Absolutely.
And so it's like, okay, like, he knew Jay was going to be an excellent replacement for him. I'm like, no. Like this is not set up at all. Like, it's not set up at any point that, like, why would Jay's personality and disdain for authority resonate with K?
I'm with you there, because until they retcon it a little bit at the end of the third movie, because Will Smith's daddy was a hero, Luke Cage himself was a hero in the third Men in Black movie. That, I mean, what Zed says something when they're watching from behind the scenes. Zed's like, "You're like, are you sure about this?" And Tommy Lee Jones is like, "He caught up to a cephalopod. Doesn't that count for something?" And it's like, okay, so I'm with you that the idea is like, okay, so you're recruiting Will Smith because he was fast.
That's it. Like, that's kind of it. Like, and then even like, oh god, like that, like what first like 30 minutes, and it's like, why is Will Smith like dressed like he's Will Smith in the 1990s?
Yeah,
and it's like,
it's like the Fresh Prince thing where he turns his school uniform jacket inside out, and it's fucking like a reggae Rasta, pattern or whatever. Yeah,
and it's like again, there's things just happening because Will Smith pop culture stardom.
Absolutely.
And it's like, okay. Then even like as we watch them like kind of like follow the clues to hunt down Vincent D'Onofrio, like a lot of it is just, I don't want to say happenstance, but like some of it's cute, like the whole thing, like Tommy Lee Jones goes up to the tabloids and he's like it's like, oh god, the most like
the hot sheets,
reliable form of news that we have. It's like, okay, that's a cute haha moment because at the time, everybody knew about the tabloids and how, like, kind of was just farcical. That's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah, I also liked it because it made me think of Freaked when Stewie Gluck he can only publish Ricky's story in one of those tabloids.
But that's the thing I think is fascinating, is that, like, think about it. If you're showing somebody Men in Black now, would they even get that joke? Is that joke even funny anymore?
Oh, no,
like,
not
tabloids
at all.
don't exist anymore.
No, yeah, not at all. Like, I don't think I remember going back to the grocery store when I was real young, like with my mom or dad or whatever, and I would always love seeing those tabloids and the continuing story of Bat Boy and shit like that. But no one sees that anymore. Nobody even goes fucking grocery shopping anymore. You can just order it and pick it up.
Exactly. So, like, again, I would imagine, again, Rob
I actually want to try this. I want to, like, find a grocery store app for ordering and see if I can add the National Enquirer.
No, Rob, the modern day equivalent is like the Time magazine retrospective on like Indiana Jones or the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's the modern day equivalent of a tabloid. No, so like there's just, I would imagine, again, Rob has seen Men in Black International. I have not. I would imagine there's a joke in that, but they probably swapped out National Enquirer for like Twitter or 4chan. So, something like that. They probably have some low-hanging fruit like that.
Probably. I remember so little about that movie.
But no, like, that's the thing. Is like, I think so much of the humor in this movie is so steeped in like 90s, like, not even want to say irreverent culture, but just like 90s, like like you were saying, like vibrant jacket, like humor.
Sure.
Like even there's the moment where like, oh god, like what, the alien's like leaving the New York City area with his wife because she's pregnant.
Yep.
And like Kay's like, oh, let me talk to you. And it's like, oh, your wife will be fine. Like Jay will take care of her. And we see like this overweight like woman like going into labor. And it's like, what does this have to do with like aliens? And then, like, we see, obviously, in the foreground, Kay is talking to the man about, like, fatherhood and all that. Like, it's a very generic, like, fatherhood, coming-of-age, like, story. And then, like, we see Jay just in the background just being, like, throttled by, like, tentacles. And it's like, what is going on? Like, we've not established that the wife is an alien. We have not established that why are there tentacles? Then the whole sequence just ends with, like, a little baby squid alien. And it's like, oh, Gucci, Gucci, goo, aren't you cute? And then it vomits on him.
Yeah.
It's like, ha 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 ha, puke. like it's sophomoric.
Absolutely.
It's idiotic.
Yeah, that is definitely my least favorite scene in the movie, for sure.
But like, it doesn't even make like I have no problem with humor that I don't find funny as long as it's set up properly. Again, there are people out there that like make fun of, again, like we've talked about That's My Boy. But at least you've there's things in that movie that have been set up. Like, think of all the Vanilla Ice humor in that movie.
Yes.
You've set up the fact that, like, Adam Sandler's Donnie is like this, oh God, like washed up 80s, like, oddly enough, like Jerry Springer star.
Yep.
And so, like, all his stuff are all kind of like shenanigans that are derived from somebody like that. And yet you have people out there saying that like Men in Black is like a comedic masterpiece of the 90s. And it doesn't really, it's not funny. It's just stuff happening that people have somehow subconsciously convinced themselves that it's funny.
Yeah, I think this goes back to what we were saying about the like me saying it was a popcorn movie, is that it is one of those movies, like, there's no grander idea. You know, maybe you can parse through something, but it really is just there to be like a very, you know, enjoyable, like, blockbuster type thing. And, you know, I think it comes down to that resonance of, like, or the idea of, like, does it resonate with you, that type of thing. Because, you know, I'm with you that, you know, like the scene with the written exam, like, I find that very funny. And I can say, like, oh, because it's silent, because you have, like, Will Smith is not, like, speaking too much in that scene, so you don't have his, like, smarm or wise ass too much. It's just, like, through the facial expressions. And then you juxtapose it with, like, the baby squid thing that you mentioned, which is, like you said, very sophomoric and things like that. And I think it all comes down to, you know, does it resonate with you? And I think that's what happens with these types of movies, where they're just meant to try and just, like, hit as many nails on the head as possible, or, you know, strike as many chords with people as possible.
Exactly. But even, like I said, there's even things like on a storytelling level that just don't make sense to me.
Absolutely.
Like, even that moment where obviously you have not Michael Berryman and the guy who's like the prince of the Nebulon galaxy, who has the Orion's belt, the galaxy.
Yep.
And it's like you have this entire thing where, like, he's a jeweler, like, walking out of the thing, taking a cab, meeting not Michael Berryman. And, like, it's like, oh, like, sir, you are not safe here. Oh, okay. But at least can we eat first? Of course, sir. I ordered you pierogies. And I'm like, is that the joke that aliens like eating in, like, a European dish? Like,
Sure.
Like, was there some idiot in the theater that just, like, couldn't stop laughing at that? I'm like, what's the joke? Oh, aliens like eating, I don't even want to say eccentric, just slightly foreign foods. It's like, what's the joke?
I don't
like
really
Family Guy humor.
Yeah, I don't even know if I don't think I've ever even thought there was a joke there. I mean, if anything, I think the joke is that, you know, they are in a public space talking in their own language, and they're able to do that at a foreign restaurant. That's all I've ever thought of, but I've never really found that scene funny or anything.
But that's what I mean, though. But like there's you do not need that scene in the movie. All you need to know is that, like, oh, like, you need, think about it, at some moment you hear that, like, Jay and Kay are like, oh, like, there was a killing of a this at a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need that sequence. All you need is the cat getting to the morgue. That's all you need.
Sure.
And so there's these weird, like, again, I don't even want to call it flourishes. I think a flourish is too kind. You have these weird, like, just, like, tacked on moments that are just there. Like it's unnecessary. Like, there's almost, like, there's not even a story to this movie. I think that's what I find so frustrating. Like, it's almost as if, like, it's like, okay, we have this concept. Let's try to just put stuff around the concept and insulate it so much that people will think it's substance.
I know where you're coming from, and I mean, I think that's another reason that maybe it resonates with so many people, and maybe possibly resonates with me, is that it is you know, I think in contrast to, like, when we talk about certain things on here, I mention certain things that I really, really love. You know, like, take, for example, Southland Tales. I absolutely love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies because it's so convoluted, because it's so dense, because there's too much going on. And then there's something kind of refreshing to me about this for the reason you just said, that really nothing happens, and it's just kind of like, you know...
wafer thin?
Yeah, you know, I'm definitely not disagreeing with you that it is wafer thin. It's just it's a tasty wafer thin to me.
But that's what I mean, though. But, like, this is not, like, I wouldn't mind if this was, like, something, I'm trying to think of something that's comparable. Oh God, what was that? Okay, did you ever see that movie? I'm definitely don't remember the name of it. It's with Guy Pearce, and, like, he's in charge of, imagine Escape from New York, but it's space jail. Did you ever see that?
Oh, no, I didn't, but I know what you're talking about. God, I don't remember the name of that either.
It's called Space Jail. That's all you need to know. That's what the movie's called. It's called Space Jail. It's like...
The Mandarin in space. Yes, okay,
yes,
good.
Space Jail. I'm the Mandarin.
I am the Mandarin!
That's the thing. Is that, like, that is a super, super thin premise. It's like the idea, but, like, nobody holds that film in high regard.
Mm-hmm.
the thing about it is that people hold this movie to this day in high regard.
Absolutely.
And I don't get it. Like, it's Blade Runner syndrome all over again, where I'm just like, does anybody who loved this movie actually watched it? Or are they just simply regurgitating, like you said, like a top X popular film?
Sure. Well, I'm glad you bring up Blade Runner, you know, especially when I told you that it's so high in that list at 20. I know Blade Runner, I get the comparison you're making, and I don't think it's an incorrect comparison, but I do think that Blade Runner is a more egregious example because of the perceived thematic ideas of it. You know, remember we talked about how, like, you can go to the Wikipedia page, you can read tons of articles where they're like, oh, this is so deep, this has so much meaning, you know, there's biblical imagery and, like, all that stuff, and we were like, what the fuck are these people talking about? Like, did they watch the movie? Here, I think it's different. I don't think there's anybody analyzing this on a grander scale. This, to me, comes across more as, whereas Blade Runner is, oh, we think it's this artistic masterpiece, I think the people who hold this movie in high regard, it comes more across to me as right place, right time for that age bracket. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, no, absolutely. But I think, I think Blade Runner is obviously the more egregious because people actually think that has substance. Nobody who loves this film thinks it has substance.
Yes.
But it's still one of these ones where, like, if you were to sit there, like, go look up an article, top 5, whether it be BuzzFeed or Watch Mojo, go look up, like, top 5 Will Smith performances, and this will be there.
Definitely.
This will 100% be there. And he's not doing anything other than his thing that we made fun of him for in Wild Wild West of, this is not how you transport nitro. It's this, that. Like, it's that exact same performance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what he did for almost the entirety of the 90s and a very good portion of the 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I mentioned earlier, but I just want to clarify. I definitely think Will Smith is stale in this first movie. Like, upon this rewatch, you know, he definitely came across as more stale to me than I remembered. And that might be a very, you know, nostalgia type thing that when I was younger, he clicked with me more or something like that. But on this rewatch, I was like, yeah, he doesn't really fit too well. You know, he kind of stands up a little bit. I don't think it, like, you know, well, I was about to say it doesn't break the immersion of the movie. I think the immersion is broken by how, you know, goofy it is. But, you know, I definitely think I'm with you that, you know, he is not the right fit. But in contrast to that, I do love the chemistry he has with Tommy Lee Jones. Like, for an example, another scene I wanted to mention, because we had to mention him, Jack Jeeves, played by Monk himself, Tony Shalhoub.
Oh, good Lord.
That first scene when, you know, he like, Tommy Lee Jones wants to know what gun the cephalopod used on Will Smith, so he takes him to Jeeves' place, and they just kind of fall into this good cop, bad cop routine, and a lot of that is really fun, and I'm like, that's where I think it thrives better. But when Will Smith is doing a lot of that wise-ass stuff, like we were saying, it doesn't really click with me.
Yeah, no, like I said, the thing with Tony Shalhoub, like, obviously he gets shot in the head, and then we sit there, have Jay be like, put the gun down, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's a fun moment where you're, like, reevaluating the rules of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
That's neat. Like, that's what the movie needed more of. It needed more of that, less of, like, oh God, Rip Torn looking at a computer screen that says, deliver the galaxy or Earth will suffer the consequences.
And the literal ticking
Sorry.
clock, yeah.
Like, that's, like, it's like, what does this mean? Like, we have this weird third party that we've never been introduced before that now has become an existential threat. It's like, where is this coming from? Like why wasn't this done earlier? Like, instead of making that a generic alien that's trying to, like, sneak into the U.S. through like what, a migrant like thing?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why not make that alien one of those? Like, tie it into the plot.
Sure. I'm totally with you. Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up, because that was something I was finding in my research that which I never knew until, you know, looking into it for this recording, that apparently there was that whole thing of the Archilians, like, the threat to Earth, I guess, you know, was supposed to be more fleshed out. There was supposed to be this whole thing, like the actual motivation of the movie was supposed to be that, you know, they wanted to find the galaxy because the Archilians wanted to give it to the Baltans. There was some other alien race that was supposed to be in here that would end a war, but the bug wanted to stop it because they want the war to keep going, because apparently the bug species or race or whatever, you know, feeds off of the casualties from the war. And they're like, so it seemed like it was supposed to be real fleshed out, but then somewhere in the process, you know, they were just like, gut it, you know, take it all out. You know, it's like the scene with Linda Fiorentino when she's, like, you know, feeling around in the guy's body and she's like, there's no organs here. It's like that's what they did to this movie. They took out all the organs and they put in these more popcornish comedy moments. Comedy, as we've been saying in air quotes, of course.
Well, I think that's probably what happened. Was it like, considering that Barry Sonnenfeld was another one of those people that just like, again, as long as the check clears, I get to work with some of the biggest talent in Hollywood. Why not? I'm thinking about Will Smith, height of his powers.
Sure.
And Barry Sonnenfeld was his go-to person. Why not? And probably the studio, again, whoever slightly pushed back, Barry Sonnenfeld, I would imagine, offered very little resistance. That's the thing. So I'm again, like I said, I just don't get, outside of just 90s nostalgia, why we even talk about these movies anymore. Like, and I think the proof is in the pudding, in that, like, why the sequels just none of them ever got off the ground. It was just that fading star power of Will Smith that kept them afloat. And I think Men in Black International is truly the final nail in the coffin, and because he wasn't even there. And I think they had an opportunity to rehabilitate this with the Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill thing. Like, I think that was a way of turning, like, invigorating fresh blood and really having fun with the premise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I would have loved to see that, man. Anything would have been better than the painfully bland existence of Men in Black International as the stupid fucking, like, Thor Ragnarok ripoff that it is with Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth. Oh God, it's so bad. I would have taken anything. The Jump Street Men in Black crossover, who knows? It would probably have been a mess, but I'll take a mess over something that literally, I watched that with my parents when they visited me, like, however long ago, like earlier last year or something like that. And the day after we watched it, like the next morning, like less than 12 hours, I think, when we watched it, my mom was saying to me, like, what even happened in that movie? Like, it was that bland, and it sucks that that's how we had to go out when I know we'll get to it, but I think 3 is a fun kind of conclusion to the arc of Agent K type of thing, or maybe storyline.
K doesn't have an arc. K is just a character that these things just happen to, and there's no sense of continuity in his life. No, that's the thing. This doesn't even feel like a movie. It feels like a fever dream, like half remembrance. Like, that's what it feels like. Like, no. Like, it doesn't even feel like a story. It just feels like these two characters were like these weird vignettes almost happened to them. Like, nothing, there's no content. It's almost like, oh God, like, I don't even know, because again, we live in a society now where continuity reigns supreme upon everything else. When it comes to narrative storytelling. So, like, I don't know, but like, just nothing makes sense in Kay's life. Nothing. But no, it just because again, we definitely got touched again for a time travel series. We're spending very, very little on time travel.
Yes. We'll get to that. We'll go back in time and get to it for sure.
But even again, going back to another moment in this where we have the morgue lady whose name Rob's already said like 4 times, and I do not care enough to remember repeating.
I had to remember it. Linda Fiorentino. Everybody, get ready for our Men in Black 2 episode. There are some fucking insane behind-the-scenes stories about why she did not return to Men in Black 2, which I can't wait to talk about. But
please tune in roughly 4.5 months from now.
Yeah, but I have to say, Linda Fiorentino, oh my God, what a beautiful voice in this movie. It's very soothing, and that's probably a big part of why I like this movie.
But even like, okay, you have the moment where like I forgot how little room she has in this movie.
Oh,
like, I forgot,
she's barely in there.
I misremembered it. So it's like you have the moment where obviously they see her in the morgue, they neuralize her. Will Smith goes off on a 5-minute tangent about giving her brain cancer, and so like eventually they circle back to her because obviously Vincent D'Onofrio shows up, and like we have the moment where she's trying to very covertly tell him that like, oh, he's underneath like the not the curtain, but just like underneath what the not even gurney.
It's something like that. Yeah.
Something like
some
that.
Table on wheels. Yep.
and obviously like she's trying to be like, oh, like there's something unusual happening below. And again, Rob will definitely insert the clip.
How you doing?
Hello.
I'm Sergeant Friday from the 26th Precinct. A cat came in with a corpse the other day. Orion on the name tag.
Yes, that's right.
Right. Well, this cat is a witness. Yeah, in a murder case. I'm gonna need to take him with me and ask him a few questions.
Well, I don't know where the cat is right now.
Oh, you don't?
No, but maybe you could take me with you instead.
Damn, you do start fast, don't you?
I'd really like to go with you. Now.
Uh-huh. And, exactly why is that?
There's something I need to show you.
Slow down, girl. You ain't gotta hit the gas like that.
No, you don't understand. You really need to see this.
Oh, I will. Oh, one thing. I gotta drive. You know, it's not some macho trip I'm on. I'm saying that's just the way I get down.
Look, stud, you're really not getting this. There's something I need you to help me with.
Yeah, Will Smith says something like, "Damn, girl, you do move fast," or something. Some Will Smith line.
It's
like
out of nowhere, he becomes extremely horny. And I'm just like, where has this been? Like, there's nothing. Like, at this point, this is an asexual movie. Like, there are no female characters except for her, and she's, for the most part, been presented, like, as a non-sexual entity. And then out of nowhere, he just has a raging hard-on. And it's just like, what is happening? I'm like, this comes out of nowhere. There's no setup. Like, other than just like hardy har har, this is unnecessary. There could have been a million ways to set up that scene differently than how they did. That would have been more effective.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree. But yeah, I'm totally with you that it is kind of asexual, especially when you put it that way. Her character is, she has said early in the movie, like, I hate the living, I want to be alone down in this morgue, that type of thing. She's annoyed with the cat and all that stuff. And then Will Smith sees it as something completely different when she's trying to get his, or, divert his attention or whatever you want to call that scene. For sure.
Yeah, like I said, so much stuff in this movie is disjointed. Like, so much, to the point where I'm just like, again, the last 5 minutes is fun. Like, it's fun watching, like, obviously they take they're in the car, and it's the Lincoln Tunnel, and it's like, oh god, we'll never make it through this traffic. Very relatable premise. Push the red button. But I thought you said never push the red button. You push it, and obviously, like, then you get the really stupid slapstick thing. He forgot to put his seatbelt on. I always said to put your seatbelt on, Slick. And like he's listening to the country music,
the Elvis song. And, another line I always stuck with me. Elvis didn't die; he just went home.
Like I said, that's cute.
I'm going to be saying that whenever I go see Baz Luhrmann's Elvis in theaters. I'm going to be saying that Elvis isn't dead; he just went home.
Oh God, yes, Baz Luhrmann Elvis is coming. And Tom Hanks Colonel.
Yeah. I can only hope we get vestigial twin stuff in that movie. I swear to God, if we don't.
Oh my God, that'd be incredible if we got that. Go Google that, folks. Google that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm realizing now. I don't know if we've ever talked about that to our audience, but Zach and I like to bring that up all the time. Why did Elvis do a bunch of drugs? Was it because like the pressure of being the most famous rock star ever got to him? No, it's because he killed his twin in utero. Oh God. So there was one moment, maybe in terms of the goofiness and craziness that is in this first movie. One of the tiny moments that I had never really stuck out to me, but did on this last viewing, in that scene that we were just describing, where Vincent D'Onofrio as the Bug, he takes Linda Fiorentino hostage and like takes her out of the morgue with the Galaxy, and then Jay and Kay have to follow him as the Bug leaves the morgue. He steals the guy's cab. Like, he rips out the cab driver and he gets in the cab and drive. Well, he makes Linda Fiorentino drive to the Queens, the World's Fair site. And when Jay and Kay come out of the morgue, they're like, I think, there's a little gag where Jay is running and Kay is walking or something like that to go get the car. And it's, however it's set up, is that when the Bug gets into the car, he rips out the driver and he rips out like his prayer mat and his crown and just throws it on the, like religious artifacts, and throws them on the ground, like just on the street. And when Will Smith comes out, he says to Kay, he's in a cab, and it like snap zooms to the religious artifacts, and it just came across as so weird to me that there's an insert shot of these things just on the ground, and he's in a cab. I mean, I know they're talking about how I think they say there's a line earlier where like a lot of cab drivers are aliens or something like that, but I just thought that was so strange. I don't know, did you pick up on that at all? The religious artifacts?
I've always remembered that, like, where like the cab driver gets like yanked out of the cab, and we deliberately like get a shot of Vincent D'Onofrio pulling like, oh god, what, the thing like that's on his seat, onto the ground. It's peculiar. I have picked up on that because for some reason the camera lingers on it for an inexplicable reason.
He's in a cab. Another thing I did not remember, which I did remember big time in Men in Black 2, which is most of our Men in Black 2 discussion will be about the David Cross scene. But David Cross is in the first one. I forgot he was the morgue attendant killing the bugs. I thought that was good, because I love me some David Cross. And D'Onofrio's like, don't do that, when he's just smacking bugs just right in the morgue. And I'm like, that's a very dirty morgue,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I think... It's good fun. It resonates with me, and that's the thing. Is I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, Zach. That this is kind of very popcorn movie, and it's a very strung together series of events, loosely strung together. But man, it works for me. And you're right. I think you're convincing me that it is a lot of the nostalgia bug for me. That paired with a lot of the fun alien stuff, paired with the wonderfully soothing voice that Linda Fiorentino has in this movie. And then also, I did want to mention, because it comes up in, I think, unfortunately, only the first two. The third one really doesn't have one of these. I like the little tease at the, not tease, but the little bumper at the end of the big alien playing of the marbles with the galaxies. I like that zoom out at the end. What did you think of that?
That's neat.
Okay.
No, I wish the movie would have done more things like that other than the cheap gags.
Sure. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'm kind of with you there. I think the bumper at the end of Men in Black 2 is the superior one, but this one also works very, very well. Just some other things I wanted to mention. I really, really like the score for this movie. It's our good friend Danny Elfman, I love some of the music. I think that is hugely nostalgic for sure. I wanted to ask you this on the topic of the music, because this is something I feel like I might be misremembering, but since you had this on VHS as well back in the day, did the VHS in some capacity, of course it would have had to been, during the beginning at previews, or if there were previews on VHS, I don't know, or at the end after the credits, was the music video for Will Smith's Men in Black songs somehow involved with the VHS?
I knew you were going to say that.
I've been remembering this for you, because I know I've seen the music video, and I remember seeing it when I was watching it at my grandmother house, and there was no computer there. It had to be on the VHS.
Robbie, you were torrenting it at your grandmother's house.
The year was 99.
The quality 140p.
I found a Napster site. I think before Napster was around.
Oh God. I don't know. If I had to guess, I would imagine so, because so many VHSs would have quote special features.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, the VHS tape probably had to be printed, whatever you want to call it, pressed. Probably after the DVD boom of the late 90s.
Okay.
Probably in order to compete. So maybe, because I'm pretty sure again, I don't have my father's copy anymore. As Rob knows, from my yard sale this past summer, I got rid of all my VHS tapes.
Yep.
So probably in later pressings, if I had to guess, probably 99, 2000 maybe. Even if not, I wouldn't be surprised, considering it was such even when the film was released, such a heavy marketing tool.
Sure.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
I would be almost shocked if it wasn't.
Yeah, for some reason I remember seeing the music video. I remember Will Smith dancing around with some background dancers. I remember Mikey, the alien that gets killed in the beginning by Kay. I think he's in the music video, or it's in the music video. Whatever. That's I remember that very vividly. Okay, Zack, before we finish up the first movie, some items we have to cover, of course.
Whoa.
Oh, yes?
Wow. We have to talk about
the Twin Towers.
What?
The Twin Towers.
Well, yes.
Okay, that's what I was about to say, a Twin Tower alert for this movie. We get a shot of the Twin Towers.
I just want it known that in that moment where we have Jay getting played around with by the giant tentacle, that is not the most interesting thing in the background.
Yes, absolutely.
But before we get into that, we got to talk about the music and the fact that
sure.
that Men in Black, the song performed by Will Smith, samples the song "Forget Me Nots" by Patrice Rushen.
Yes, how could I almost forget that you even told me before we recorded that we had to bring this up?
Because the first time I was ever introduced to the "Forget Me Not" song was Rob's gonna laugh. Maybe one of the most Zack things you could possibly ever say. As I listened to the Rush Limbaugh program, Rush would sit there for bumpers coming back from commercial breaks, just have instrumentals play of songs he liked. He had Who Can It Be Now, the instrumental of that.
Okay.
countless songs
Sure.
that were popular like in the 80s and 70s. And one of them was Forget Me Nots. And for the longest time, I used to always think, like, why would he play an instrumental of the Men in Black theme? I'm like, that is so peculiar.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Time. Until at one point in his program, like, one of his producers, I guess, like, you would never hear because all you ever heard was Rush or the guest. He goes, it's not the Men in Black theme. Like, he just said that. It's like a non sequitur because obviously somebody was whispering in his ear. So it wasn't until, I would say, maybe the last 6 months that where I work, we have music that plays, and this song was playing, and I'm like, this must be the song that it was sampled from and that Rush was playing.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding. This must have happened in the last couple of months where I Shazammed it. God bless Shazam.
Sure.
And I actually have it in one of my Spotify playlists, Forget Me Nots, and I listen to it often because it's a really nice beat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I want everybody to know, like, stop giving Will Smith credit. Don't give him credit. Give his music producers credit because they found a really nice beat and decided to sample it.
Yep, absolutely.
And I would please beg Rob that we do not play the Men in Black theme song. We play Forget Me Nots.
Okay.
In reverse.
Okay, we'll keep that. We'll keep that on the table for the end of the episode. Okay.
No Peach Bowl.
All right. Okay. No, I'm glad you reminded me of that. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely a better song than the Men in Black song. Which I think we got it a little bit in our Wild West song with that one, Will Smith. That none of those. I've never really been a big fan of Will Smith's music and that type of stuff. Some other minor things, I do like that we get the offhand line in this movie that the way that the Men in Black is able to keep the operation funded is that they hold the patent on things that aliens have given them, and I believe Tommy Lee Jones lists Velcro, microwaves, and liposuction. I like that. I love the board of aliens, the monitoring alien board, because of the ones that I noticed. Danny DeVito's on there, of course. I actually brought that up back in our Danny DeVito series, but also Al Roker, Sylvester Stallone, Newt Gingrich, Tony Robbins, and George Lucas.
Newt Gingrich was the funniest one. That was one where I was just
when I saw
like,
Newt
wow.
Gingrich on there, I was like, oh man, that's a joke I did not get when I was younger. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the first one. Oh, I mean, of course, there's that scene when it fades to white or whatever, and you pick back up Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith at the Chinese food restaurant, and Tommy Lee Jones is but honey, this one's eating my popcorn, and then he laughs. That laugh is exactly the same as the one he does as Two-Face in the Joel Schumacher, Batman Forever, I think that one is.
Yes.
And it is identical, because I watched that one I watched those Batman movies in the last year, and I just heard that, and it brought me back, like I had flashbacks to him as Two-Face. I love the Guggenheim chase at the beginning. I love the Guggenheim in general. For all you people from New York City out there, the Whitney is the better museum, the far superior museum. And then two last things I wanted to say. I love Rip Torn's delivery of the line, "We're not hosting an intergalactic kegger down here." That stuck with me for a long, long time. And then I think the last thing I have to say, Zach, is a pet cat. I choked on my own spit there. So yeah, go for it.
As a nice segue into Men in Black 3, can we please talk about the weird affinity this franchise has for, like, the Mets and Shea Stadium?
Oh, sure, absolutely. Good old Shea Stadium, which I have been to, but you can't go anymore. It's been torn down. And now MetLife Stadium is where the Mets play, I think. But yeah, I picked up on that too. That we have the whole first flyover scene in the first movie, and then we get the entirety of the that winning year of 69 or something. Is this? I think it's 69 in the third movie. Yeah, that was definitely odd, for sure. Someone's a Mets fan, I guess, in the Men in Black team. Maybe it's Barry Sonnenfeld. Who knows?
Maybe.
So, with that being said, I think that's our transition. Are you ready to get into the time travel in the time travel series?
80 minutes? Much like Men in Black. I think we've been talking as long as it takes Men in Black 2 to play out.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So, Zach, I figured we would get to it immediately as we talk about Men in Black 3. There is a scene in this movie that is written for me, and it is the Andy Warhol scene. When Bill Hader says, "I'm so out of ideas, I'm painting soup cans," it speaks to my soul, Zach.
That was, like I said, I'd say the second half of the third film is kind of good, except for certain moments.
That's where I wanted to know, because you mentioned that earlier. That's where I wanted to know where kind of the cutoff comes for you. Is it when he goes back in time? Is it a little after he goes back in time? Where does it turn into something a little more enjoyable for you?
I would probably say probably the Andy Warhol.
Okay.
Once you get to the factory and you get Griffin introduced, Griffin's a fun character.
Yes.
And totally. I wish I know he has a little bit of like a cameo at one point, like when we first go back to the 60s, but I wish he would, again, like the first, everything until Josh Brolin, I say, is like an abject nightmare.
Okay. So are you saying, I'm trying to phrase this the right way. Are you saying that one of the opening shots of a jiggling cake right next to Nicole Scherzinger's boobs is not the peak of the movie for you?
That scene legit. Okay, I'm so glad you mentioned that so early. That made me angry.
It kind of made me angry too. Yeah.
Like, it made me so angry to the point where I'm just like fuck this movie. Like, I was just like, I'm like, no, like, this is why I don't like this. I don't know if Rob knows this, but on the Blu-ray, the disc art is the cake.
Really? Like, why?
Yes. Because jiggling boobs is Nicole Scherzinger.
Yes.
Remember Nicole Scherzinger that hasn't been like a topical name since 2006?
Yeah, exactly. So okay. So yeah, I'm with you. So the Brolin stuff, I definitely think that's where the movie picks up. There is, to me, in that first act, when you have the in the present, I guess, to put it that way, when Tommy Lee Jones is around, that stuff is definitely clunky to me. But I guess maybe as an overall type thing, the third one is certainly the movie of the three that I've seen the least, because it wasn't during my childhood. It's 2012. I did not see it in theaters. I think I saw it probably, I found a copy of it, after it came out or something like that. I remember the first time I watched it was like while sitting on a bed with like other people watching it on a laptop screen. I think I'd caught it again maybe a few years later. For some reason I wanted to watch it or something like that. So this was really kind of the freshest one for me on this rewatch for this recording. And I was kind of pleasantly surprised about how much I enjoyed it. I think that I thought it was going to be the worst of the three. Like, I think, it kind of is my least favorite of the three. But I thought it was going to be a lot worse than it was. But I'm with you that I loved the Griffin character. I found him so fascinating. I was shocked that it's played by Michael Stuhlbarg, who I've seen in, the Coen Brothers stuff. Very different from, he's Cy Feltz in season 3 of Fargo. And he's in A Serious Man. And I loved his, rambling dialogue. And I don't know, this movie kind of clicked with me a lot more than I expected it to. So this was kind of the little surprise for me for this recording. Now, I think in comparison to the first one, I know we're not trying to compare them too much because they're almost incomparable, but something that I wanted to bring up was, also having watched all three movies, I think Boris the Animal is the best villain out of the three. And maybe to keep the second one out of it, Serlina is the villain in the second one. I think Boris the Animal, or just Boris, if you want to get there, is actually menacing. Like, I never found the bug in the first one very menacing comparatively. You know what I'm saying?
No, Boris is hard because he's part of the, what would you even call it, prelude.
Yes.
But we don't really see him, like, he's almost too powerful. Because, we see him just basically single-handedly break out of jail. Mm-hmm. He pretty much destroys an entire prison on the moon.
Yes.
And
Lunar
then
Max, yeah.
Then he doesn't really become a presence again, like a physical presence in the story, until they're at Shea Stadium in 1969. He kidnaps Griffin.
Yes.
He is pretty much a non-character for over an hour in the film.
Yeah, he really is just more of the idea of a looming problem, because he's not in it. He's just talked about for sure.
Exactly. So we know he's powerful, but he's not really given anything to do. And then really his only moment where he's allowed to kind of where he's the sole focus of the sequence is him just growling at himself.
Yes. Which I have to say, I kind of like that scene, at least in the sense of a character thing, where he's his whole plan is I'm going to go back in time, I'm going to make sure that Kay doesn't shoot off the arm of my other self, I'm going to kill Kay, that whole thing. And, to an extent, he succeeds before Will Smith goes back in time. But when we get to see it in the past, like when they encounter each other, I kind of like the idea that, he goes to younger Boris and he's like, look at this. Like, this is what we need to prevent. And younger Boris is like, that wasn't me. That was you who made those mistakes. You're the idiot. And he's just like, he's so self-centered. I don't know. That touch was kind of nice to me. I like that they didn't immediately team up. Yeah, what?
You know what that reminds? Looper. It's the entire diner scene from Looper where it's like Joseph Gordon-Levitt being yelled at by Bruce Willis. Yeah. It's literally that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
It's much less pretentious and very, very dumbed down. Yes. But it is literally that sequence. And it's weird because this movie came out 2 months before Looper?
Yeah, Looper was around this time. Okay. Yep, another time travel movie. There you go. But, I mean, in terms of, maybe once again, and this is something I'll bring up again when we discuss Men in Black 2, all these big villains, the Bug in the first one, Serlina in the second one, Boris the Animal in this one, they all have their final forms, like the Bug is a big bug at the end, Serlina is a bowl of snakes, and Boris the Animal, very unfortunately, I think we only get to see his true form for, 10 frames or something before he gets blown away. I think Boris the Animal's, true form, where he's, giant face hugger or something, is the only one that is looks like a final boss. I don't really like the look of the Bug when he's not Vincent D'Onofrio at the end of the first movie, because he just is kind of a big bug, Serlina, like I said, is a bowl of ramen, bowl of snakes, that type of thing. But Boris actually, when he sheds his skin and even when he's not in that final form, I love that he has, claws around his eyes, those weird, goggle things that he has. I don't know, there's something really, really interesting, visually interesting to me about Boris in general. And I appreciated that in the final installment of these three.
Well, Boris is fun. He's fun to look at. There's, he's off-putting, but not hard to look at.
Yeah.
No, he's probably the definition of any schlocky B-movie villain. He's meant to, like you said, be a force that's... what's the word? Funneling the plot?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I like his design. I think he's a fun design, something that this franchise kinda is probably most known for now.
Sure.
No, he's definitely. I wish there was more of him in this movie. I wish he had more of a presence. I wish we had more of a chance to interact with him. He really doesn't interact with J or K in any sort of meaningful way outside of just generic fight sequences in the third act.
Yeah, you're right. Even at the with the motorcycle chase, that he just kind of disappears at the end of it because he gets away. Exactly. And yeah, but I'm with you. I wish we saw more of him. I wish he had the final form moment like the Bug and Serlina get in the previous two movies. But he, like I said, he gets blown away almost immediately. Because then they set that up because Jay is like, when you see Boris, kill him, don't arrest him, that type of thing. So he just kills him immediately. So I wish we had more of him. And I like the idea that he has a face hugger living in his hand, and he just kind of can summon it and stuff like that. I think that's a neat idea.
Well, no, definitely. Like I said, he's probably one of the best parts in this. It's just weird to think that, like we're told, pretty much the catalyst for the entire events of the film are okay, he goes back in time, does basically a Biff Tannen, and it's okay, you think of Back to the Future Part 2, the whole idea of, Marty trying to, maneuver around all this is such a big part of it, and yet, future Boris, doesn't really show up until the beginning of the third act.
Yeah, definitely. Because Will Smith
peculiar.
Goes, yeah, absolutely. Because Will Smith goes back in time a day before Boris is supposed to get there. So the movie builds in that they don't need Boris for that whole setup of when he has to meet young Kay and stuff like that, meet Brolin and get him up to speed.
But you would think it would give us even more room to interact with OG Boris.
Sure, no, I'm with you completely. And I mean, we get a few scenes. One when he kills Roman the Fabulous, and he there's that scene on the motorcycle where he drives up to the Flower Child, who's played by Barry Sonnenfeld's daughter, and he has the weird laugh and stuff like that with the teeth, and that's really it. We don't get really anything else except him on Coney Island.
Yeah, no, I said you honestly almost a non-character in one regard.
Yeah,
because it seems almost it's a race against time. Becomes the antagonist.
Sure, absolutely, and I mean, okay, on the topic of the time travel, it is very much just they go back in time and they can, do stuff and then come back. And it's a little handheld device in this movie. So, it's a step up from a watch, from Clock Stoppers. But Will Smith has it the whole time. uses it, 3 times? 1 to jump to the 1969, then he uses it to beat Boris by learning his pattern and stuff like that, and then he uses it to return. I mean, the idea of the time travel in this, I think, like we were saying earlier, is that it really doesn't rely on it too heavily. And I think that's kind of like... not really a MacGuffin or something like that. It's just a tactic they use to say, okay, we want to do these things back in the past. How do we get there? Time travel. Just throw it out. Everybody gets it. One and done. That type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Because that's probably my favorite element of this movie is the fact that, like, time travel is a plot device. Mm-hmm. It does not need to be the entire crux of everything.
Yes.
And that's something that, like, Back to the Future, I guess, kind of ruined for any sort of time traveling stories, is that it always has to be the exclusive focal point.
Yeah, 100%.
And like you said, it's just a means of getting the characters from point A to point B.
Yes. And, I know with Clock Stoppers, it was the time dilation like we talked about. This is like some true time travel. It's that sci-fi idea of, take my physical presence in this time. Now it's that same physical presence in this different time, that idea. The interesting thing, though, I think, is how they visualize it. Now, of course, we get the literal time jump sequence where Will Smith has to jump off that building. And this is something I wanted to pick your brain on. Did the time jump sequence make you angry?
Not really.
Okay. Because I think it's, for the most part, I think it's fantastic. I don't like him, losing the device and him, like, snatching it with his feet and stuff. Very, very much like Tobey Maguire losing the ring in the fight with James Franco in Spider-Man 3, which I know I said back then is real goofy. But then the whole thing where he's, like, as he's falling, he's going through different time periods. I love the little bit about how he's falling next to the suicidal stock market people and during the Wall Street crash. I love that he stops right before the ground, very, very Hudsucker proxy, and then he snaps back up. I thought that was very visually inventive, and I kind of wanted more of that type of visual inventiveness.
Oh, I know that was fun. Like the Wall Street people like committing suicide. That was I forgot about that. I'm like, no, and that whole sequence, even with the whole him dropping the clicker remote, you could this was also still in the wake of like when 3D was the biggest thing ever.
Yes, that's right.
So that clearly was a scene that was designed for that, which probably would be fun to see that in 3D. If it's available. Probably it's got a 3D Blu-ray release somewhere.
Sure.
No, it was neat. Like, that sort of stuff, again, like I said, I wish, again, that's the moment in the movie where it actually started to become, like, an actual movie.
Yes.
It wasn't just like resting on the laurels of the Men in Black franchise.
Definitely. And I think I'm with you. While I said I did enjoy this movie, I am with you that first act, when everything with Tommy Lee Jones, it didn't click with me because I think, watching these 3 in a row, where the first one, you got to get the team up, you have to get Will Smith up to speed, Agent J up to speed. The second one, of course, they bring Tommy Lee Jones back, you get more of that chemistry, and that movie's like a scavenger hunt, basically. And then in this third one, it kind of comes out of nowhere where, Tommy Lee Jones is just, like, pissed off. Like, Agent K is just angry, and there's that whole thing where he's like, Jay, you're suspended for 2 weeks, and he's like, you're going to suspend me 4 weeks, and that type of stuff. And it really kind of comes out of nowhere, and the chemistry's not really there that it was in those other movies. It takes until Brolin comes into play, like, when Agent J and Agent K, young Agent K, kind of just fall back into their teamwork. And while it's not a great scene, they fall back into their teamwork with the guy with the bowling ball for a head, or they use his head as a bowling ball. Like, at least that chemistry's there, or the chemistry I know and love from Men in Black. But that whole first act with Tommy Lee Jones, I'm like, it seems so unearned relative to the earlier movies. Like, they always set up that Tommy Lee Jones, Agent K, is grumpy, but this one he seems like, there's even that line, which I did laugh at, where Will Smith is like, nobody wants your nasty ass noodles, Woo, and Tommy Lee Jones says, you're a piece of shit, Woo.
Woo, he and I are having issues in our relationship right now, but you shouldn't have to suffer for that.
Thank you, Jay.
So if you don't like getting fish slapped, I'm gonna need you to keep to our agreements. Earth people get Earth fish. Real Earth fish.
On behalf of my pathetic self and worthless children, you stay. Allow me most honorable benefit of serving you favorite noodles, Kay?
Don't nobody want none of your nasty ass noodles, Woo.
You're a piece of shit, Woo. Shrimp and bok choy. We're gonna be here for a while.
And it's like he's a little too angry. Unearnedly so.
Well, he's outright hostile. Mm-hmm. Like, there's really, like, it's just he's being mean. Absolutely. And I don't know why nobody, like, Like it's unearned meanness. Like
Yes.
you wouldn't mind if it was like they could have even thrown a line of dialogue in there, being like, "Oh, it's the 40th anniversary since blah 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 happened. Like since the moon launch." You wouldn't mind that, at least to give it some resonance to what comes later.
Yeah.
It's just he's just a jerk.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like they could have solved it, like you said, that it's some anniversary or something. But from what I remember, only watching this a few days ago, but jamming them all in there, they could have even included a line of dialogue because like you said, the opening of the movie is Boris breaking out of prison, or Lunar Max, and then it goes down to Earth, and you see the what they're investigating the ship or whatever, the escape pod, something has landed on Earth. They could have even said something like, all the Men in Black and Agent J are like, well, what is this? Where's this from? That type of thing. And K is like, it's Boris. He's back for me. That's why I'm going to be an asshole. But I feel like it's almost like pulling teeth. The movie's trying to pull the teeth, and it takes its time for Will Smith to learn anything about Boris, if I'm remembering the order correctly. And it's just like, yeah, you could have solved this a lot quicker, and we could have had some, like you said, it would have made the meanness and hostility earned more, and I would have appreciated that. But instead, I think Barry Sonnenfeld falls back on, oh, let's have a shootout, in the Chinese food restaurant with just some crazy alien-looking people. But it's nothing like in the earlier movies where, once again, the second one, you have the stuff where it's like, okay, he's a Balchinian, and it's like, okay, we get the joke right off the bat. It's not a great joke, but it's a joke. Here, it's just like, oh, we put some makeup on some people and they're shooting in a place. That's it.
Oh, yeah. And then, I absolutely agree with you. And I think I wonder how much of this as well is also the massive reshoots.
Absolutely.
Because, you even have that moment, too, where, Kay calls Jay, and he even makes a joke about, Jay sitting there, playing his video games, which is, again, weird.
Jay has a giant framed picture of Frank the Pug in his apartment for some reason. I thought that was very strange.
It's not mentioned that Frank was dead, I'm guessing.
Well, he's in International. So...
Oh, okay. So he's not. Okay, so he's not dead. Okay, go figure.
Yeah.
Why not? But no. The thing about it is that I think there must have been a different second and third act.
Okay.
Because you even have the moment where, after Jay hangs up on him, Tommy Lee Jones opens up the wall behind him. It's the room of guns from the second movie.
Yep.
And then he holds the gun out, waiting almost for someone to enter the room.
Yeah, it's like he's waiting for Boris, because I think he knows that I think the implication is that the people in the aliens in the Chinese food restaurant were from Boris or something. Oh yeah, because Boris, attacks them at the end of that scene, and Jay saves him by opening a door or some shit like that.
But but even think about how that scene plays out. You have him Tommy Lee Jones gets the gun, he's sitting in his lounge chair. I don't even want to call it a lounge chair. Mm-hmm. And it's almost as if he's waiting for someone to open a door.
Absolutely.
It's something like that. And it just, he gets sucked into a time warp with a special effect.
Yeah.
It's I think something else was going to happen there. And I think the second and third act became so wildly different after that 3-month hiatus they took while they were shooting. I think a different movie was shot than the one that scene in the first act was crafted around.
Okay, I'm glad we got to this, because this is something I wanted to pick your brain on, because I think you have a better understanding of this than I do. And it's also interesting. I think this is a little interesting tale from what I found in my research. Both of these interviews that I'm going to mention are from 2012, so when this movie came out. And in regards to Men in Black 3, Barry Sonnenfeld said to an interview with Empire magazine, he said this was the quote: We knew starting the movie that we didn't have a finished second or third act. Was it responsible? The answer is, if this movie does well, as I think it will, it was genius. If it's a total failure, then it was a really stupid idea. But just to reiterate that first sentence in that quote, we knew starting the movie that we didn't have a finished second or third act. Okay. Sometime later, after this interview was published, Sonnenfeld does an interview with Billy Donnelly, who goes by the infamous Billy the Kid or some shit from Ain't It Cool News, and the interviewer, Billy Donnelly, brings up this notion. He basically cites the Empire magazine article, and he says something along the lines, or the question he asks is something along the lines of, knowing that you didn't have the finished script, but you started making the movie, how much studio interference, or maybe not interference, but how much did the studio have to say about it? How much did you have to say about, this hiatus? Because I think that was well known, like you said already. And Barry Sonnenfeld, or the interview in general, gets a little heated Barry Sonnenfeld definitely goes off on a huge rant that I'm not going to read all of. It's a interview you can read online, of course, through Ain't It Cool News. I think the title is something like, interview with Barry Sonnenfeld gets heated or something along those lines. But basically, in this second interview, Barry Sonnenfeld says this. He says, quote, "Every movie has a complete script when they go into production. Changes are made on every script, except one that I worked on. While one shoots, but you could not ever start a movie without having an entire script. How do you budget it? How do you know if you're ever going to make it? How do you know how many days you need to budget it or when you need actors?" And then after some other stuff he says, he also goes on to say, "So the only thing I want to say is I don't understand why this is a story since it doesn't affect the viewer's viewing of the movie." That's when things got a little heated. And then he also goes on to say, quote, "Well, the movie's out, so now you get the chance to say the movie is in trouble because it stinks, or the movie isn't in trouble and you should go see it. So I don't understand why the process of getting to the final result is a story once you have the final result. That's what confuses me." So I know I threw some quotes at you, Zach, but what I got from this research or these interviews is that, one, Sonnenfeld says, we knew starting the movie, whatever he means by starting the movie, they didn't have a finished second or third act. And then he goes on to say in a different interview, he's like, well, no, it was finished, but it might not have been fleshed out completely, but it was finished, and he gets very aggressive about it. So do you think this is something of like Barry Sonnenfeld backtracking and saying like, this is not something I want to talk about, and I'm going to get aggressive in this interview? Do you think that the reshoots were something he was ashamed of? Or I don't know. What do you think about any of this that I've thrown at you?
I think what happened was, because I remember this. This was like a big thing. This is back when I used to tell Rob, back when Twitter used to be fun, for movie news and scoops and stuff. This is like prime evidence of that.
Sure.
Because I remember hearing that it went into hiatus for 3 months. Will Smith had this ridiculously big trailer that had something in a gym, screening room.
I remember that. It took up a whole New York City block or something like that. Yeah.
Insane. The opulence. And it was the whole idea that they were supposed to resume shooting, I think, after the holidays again, 2, maybe 3 week hiatus. Mm-hmm. And Will Smith refused because he didn't feel the script was up to the standards that he deemed necessary. And that's what it just kept dragging. It was costing the studio something ridiculous amounts of money, something $5 million a week or something, just to keep again, because everybody had to be. You have to pay people. You just if you're gonna put on hiatus, it's not like everybody gets to go home. Basically, it's like what happened with the Richard Stanley thing. It was you're just paying people to sit there. And that was the thing. So I don't know. I think Barry Sonnenfeld, kind of knew at that point that his career was over. I think Men in Black was designed to be his hurrah, oh man, I still got it. Will Smith,
sure.
Oh God, treasured franchise. And I think probably by the time the film was probably coming out, he realized it was not going to be that for him. This was it. The career was over. He was no longer larger than life filmmaker Barry Sonnenfeld. And I think it was more just kind of either washed up or has been. And I think he probably started lashing out because people probably kept bringing that up to him. How did you lose control of this? You're Barry Sonnenfeld. You already have Wild Wild West to your name. You were stuck making a Robin Williams kiddie comedy. Mm-hmm. Is this what your career has kind of ended up at? And I think I would imagine Will Smith probably blamed it on Barry Sonnenfeld, if I had to guess, because I think Will Smith takes no culpability in anything.
Sure.
So he was lashing out of just fear of what his career was becoming.
Okay.
If I had to guess, just this is my own definition of a bystander on the fringes. That's probably what I would assume all of this was.
That's kind of a similar sense that I was getting, specifically with that one of the quote I read where he's like, I don't understand why this is a story. Why are you asking this? It doesn't affect how people view the movie. And it's well, Barry, you're talking to somebody who's reporting and interviewing you to get information about behind the scenes, about the process of making movies. It's not an interview where it's about the movie. It's about all the stuff behind the scenes. And it's why? It seems like he's coming at it from a way where he's almost aggressively, purposefully not understanding that. Where he's saying it's oh my God, why are you asking me this? And it's it's because it doesn't matter. It seems a little hostile to use that word again. So I'm kind of getting the same idea for sure.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's. I wish I could explain it. I don't know enough about his career to really do a deep dive.
Sure.
But I imagine he probably was disillusioned by the fact that this was not going to be his rebound.
Yes, and that's a good point. I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. Because what I mean, I think RV is 2006, so that's 6 years between these two movies.
Yep.
And then what I mean, he gets 9 lives, and that's proves he does not have 9 lives, I think. But yeah, it was just so weird to me that I kind of found that contradictory nature between these two things, and I mean, just the idea that he would get so aggressive where he's like, of course we got to finish script, and it's like, well, what does finished mean to him? Because he even said, like, in that Empire interview where he's like, we didn't have a finished second or third act. Does that mean that they just didn't have parts of the movie? Well, no, I think it is what he said, where it's like they probably had something, but they knew it wasn't the answer or the best scenario or something like that, leading to that hiatus, leading to those rewrites and reshoots and things of that nature. Did they, improve it from what it was? Maybe. We have no idea what it was originally, but I don't know. I just found it so strange. And you're right. I also don't know too much about Barry Sonnenfeld in his career and personally and things like that. But yeah, I was kind of weird. From everything I've found is that, the little I've read, is that he kind of, just has very much like laid back and stuff like that personality or working experience. And this just to hear this aggressiveness was very surprising. But I mean, it could be the case that he's always fighting with people. Who knows?
Yeah, I really, like I said, I don't know. I would just imagine that he probably realized that the gravy train, or at least the rebound, was not going to happen.
That's a good point for sure. And then of course, he has. I don't think he has anything to do really with International. I don't even know who directed International off the top of my head. But yeah, I thought that was interesting, and such. So I wanted to bring it up. Now, so I guess we have to get to it. Back to the time travel, I should say. More of the semi retconning this movie does. I remember at the time watching this movie. I remember, when I saw it the first time, I remember maybe in the years since talking to some people about it here or there, that there's definitely some disdain for the fact that, Agent K has known Jay his whole life. Or it was there at Cape Canaveral when Luke Cage gets shot, that type of thing. What do you think about this? This little kind of... Well, one, since we've discussed the first movie, what do you think about the fact that kind of Kay's character from the first movie does not matter to this third movie, because there's no mention of his, sweetheart, the woman that he goes and gets neuralized for. It's replaced with his little love affair with O. And then what do you think about the fact that it turns out that, he was there, he met Jay when he was a young kid and that type of thing, and still knows about it? Because that last scene in the diner definitely indicates that Jay shows him the watch type of thing, and he's like, these are the mysteries that the universe doesn't want you to know about, or whatever the hell he says.
That, like I said, the cute little retcon didn't bother me. It's a nice way to put a bow on it. Like, it adds some layer of emotional schmaltz that doesn't bother me, almost like a oh god, like a glaze almost. Like, it's
Sure.
It's not the worst thing. The thing that it's gonna sound such a nitpick, but it just drove me nuts. Why is it this is Cape Canaveral during the moon landing launch?
Yeah, what, Apollo 11, I think, is what it is? Yeah.
Why is it that, oh god, what's Luke Cage's title? What's his ranking?
Oh, I think he's a colonel.
Okay. Why is it that the colonel in charge of the Apollo moon landing mission has their Jeep parked on the edge of the beach with their son in it, right where the weird little gondola escape pod is?
I thought the same thing, and my only rationalization is that he was like, I'm going to bring my son to work so he can see this historic event. But I don't think that would happen in the case where he's supposed to be working security. You're absolutely right. Like, if he had a day off or something, it would make more sense. And he wouldn't be anywhere near it. He would be in the viewing stands, which are far enough away to not get, incinerated by the rocket blast.
Exactly. Like, I could not get over that. I'm just like how lazy is that? Like, you couldn't think of any other way for that to happen, to like make something like that occur. Like, you couldn't have done anything. Like, beyond lazy. And then the weird thing is that, like, earlier in that sequence, because we see the little like dugout, like with the door, and there's no Jeep there. Like, so what? Did baby Jay just drive it there?
Definitely.
It's like, no, like that, like, again, cute little moment, but that just took me out of it.
I'm with you. I had that same thought. Regardless of that, I do want to say that on this rewatch, I did not have any problem with the whole thing of that, Kay was there when Jay was young, that whole idea. I mean, it also kind of fits a little better with how much they don't acknowledge from the first movie about Kay's life. It does kind of fit where it kind of retcons the idea, like we said, when, Kay is like, oh, I'm going to recruit Will Smith because he's fast. Well, now there's a little something more there, I don't think it adds too much more, but at least there's something a little more there.
Yeah, no, like I said, that it doesn't bother me. It just means that, like, okay, he kept an eye on him for the rest of his life because he felt responsible in the death of his father. No, so like, no, it's a cute moment. I think it goes back to even like, oh God, Rey Skywalker. It's like idea A. Execution D-.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. I did check the casting, and Luke Cage is a colonel. So now that you've asked me and made me think about it, I think that we should have a fan edit of that final scene with young Agent J, where, he's like, where'd my daddy go? Is he coming back? And after, in the movie, of course, Kay neuralizes little young Jay and says, your daddy was a hero. He should neuralize Jay and then go, the Colonel, I say you he dead.
Colonel Sanders!
What?
Yes, do you mind? I paid $380 for this flight.
$380? Jeez, I hope they kissed you first. This is my 4th trip today. Just this morning I went to Kentucky. Wait a second. You're telling me I flew all the way to Kentucky to get some of your fried chicken and the Colonel isn't even working today?
He did.
What?
I say he did.
Is Mr. Sanders in?
What's wrong with you? I say he did.
The Colonel!
The Colonel! Oh, man. But yeah, on this rewatch, I had no problem with that little bit, where I think I had more of a problem when I watched it the first time because it comes out of nowhere, I think. At least from what I knew of Men in Black back in the day.
No, it's like I said, it's, like a lot of that stuff, like, it's neat, it's cute. Like even Josh Brolin is it like I always loved Josh Brolin as an actor. It's not until like he really leaned into the comic book nonsense where I'm just like, oh God, like we're gonna become one of those actors now.
Sure.
I always liked him, like whether it be No Country for Old Men, Sicario. Like we talked about how great he is in that.
Yep.
Fuck it all.
Yes.
No, I always liked him as an actor, and this is really no different. He's a really good character actor.
Yes.
And it's a shame that the only reason why people really kind of know who he is now is because of playing Grimace in the Avengers movies.
Yes, exactly. I'm glad you tripped up and said James Brolin, because it made me remember that there is an episode of Law & Order Zvoo where James Brolin plays an astronaut. Look at that. It's all connected. But no, real quick about Josh Brolin. Did you know that, like, he only does, like, acting is like a thing that like quote get out of the house? No,
like he's like a legit like day trader, and like he's made like his fortune off of like day trading.
Oh, okay.
And he just does this because like almost like for recreation. Like he doesn't do this again. It's like any sort of money; it doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, apparently, like, he legit this is like more of a passion for him than anything else, and he like legit made his fortune as like somebody who invests properly, like in stocks and stuff.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, right on, cool.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's a weird fact I know about him for some reason. I don't think I've ever had a chance to bring up outside of the stupid comic book movies and Sicario.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yes, good old Sicario, absolutely. One of the new detectives, aside Anthony Anderson, in the return of the original Law and Order, everybody, yes, that happened, is Jeffrey Donovan. He's one of the new detectives. He's the guy in one of the Sicario movies who says, you know, do you hear about what the terrorist did to Fiji? Terrorists, leave Fiji alone. It's that guy.
Trying to get DOD to let me look into this conspiracy to sink Fiji.
Fiji? Leave Fiji alone, terrorists.
Yeah, exactly. Figure a month or two over there, we'll get it all worked out.
But no, I mean, I did want to talk about Brolin in this movie. I love his Tommy Lee Jones impersonation. Like, it might be perfect casting, I think, for him as young Tommy Lee Jones. Like, the voice, the diction, the look, I loved it. I thought it fit perfectly.
Yeah, no, like, oh no, like, it's It's a spot on take on Tommy Lee Jones.
Absolutely.
Spot on.
Oh yeah, and I was very surprised. That's something I didn't really remember. But it was great. I also okay. Speaking of time travel, I did a little freeze frame, Zach, because we get to see what the his name's Michael Chernus, whoever he plays, the guy who like sells or peddles the time travel wares in this movie. He has the logbook or the ledger of all the times people like time travel or time jump or things like that. And I freeze framed when we get that one shot of the book because I was like, okay, you know, who's going to be in here? What Easter eggs are we going to get? None of the names jump out to me, unfortunately. None of the dates really jumped out at me except for one. Somebody jumped to May 3rd, 1970, which is the day before this Kent State shooting when the Ohio National Guard shot all those Kent State students. I don't know if that's why they jumped back, but there is an observations column. So I would like to read off what happens to people that time travel, apparently. So it seems like, you know, when they come back, because there's a return date in the ledger as well, that this guy makes some notes about what happened to these people. And there's not too many, so soaking wet upon arrival. So somebody came back real wet. Somebody came back with elephantitis of the hands. Somebody came back with lost sense of smell. Somebody came back with eyes bulged out a little bit. Somebody came back with their toes having grown 2 inches. Could you imagine your toes grow 2 inches? 2 inches is not negligible for your fucking toes. Like, that's weird as hell. This one, I think this one might be my favorite. Somebody came back with a, quote, bad case of wandering spleen. Somebody came back and kept throwing up in their mouth. Somebody came back with warts all over their face. Somebody came back with extreme flatulence. I think they were running out of ideas there. And then the last one is somebody came back with, and it's as is written in the ledger, hair grew 6 inches, ... everywhere. So I thought that was pretty fun. I was hoping there'd be another Easter egg with like somebody jumping back in time from one of the other movies, but it didn't happen. But I like the little record keeping of the time travel guy. Jeffrey Price, that's his name in the movie, played by Michael Chernus, who I had to look this up. We saw he was the Tinkerer in Spider-Man: Homecoming. He was like Michael Keaton's tech guy. I was watching it and I was like, of course I know Michael Chernus. He is Sonny Carisi, ADA Sonny Carisi's brother-in-law in SVU. But I was like, we just saw him in something. Speaking of things I didn't remember in this movie, totally forgot that Will Arnett, Agent AA, is Will Smith's partner in the altered timeline at the beginning of the movie. Totally forgot about that. And I guess that's another thing I wanted to pick your brain on, since you said you were angry about the first third of this movie. What did you think about the whole, like, you know, it's not too bad, I think, but semi-uphill battle for Will Smith to realize that the timeline has been changed with Emma Thompson, right?
Like I said, it's kind of, at that point the movie's at least slowly transitioning into better stuff. Okay, so sure. It's still painful. Like anything with Will Arnett just makes me want to just like put an ice pick through my ear. Sure. But no, like it's clunky, like the chocolate milk thing. Like I'm kind of shocked that it wasn't like I need a Slurpee, so it was like a tie-in with like 7-Eleven. Like I'm kind of shocked that there wasn't like some obligatory tie-in and not generic. So no, like again, it's clunky. We've all been there before. Like, oh, I sense something's wrong, but I know anyone nobody else does. Mm-hmm. And then like she slaps him, and she's like, it's either one or two things. It's the either. Well, I don't even know what she says. The so and so tick.
Yeah, some type of tick, and she's like, you could die at any moment. Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, it's worse. And like she slaps him, and she's like, damn it, it's not the tick. Not the tick? Like, it's worse? And it's like, oh my God. Again, like, it's so pedestrian.
Sure.
Like, they should just have him, like, slip on, like, a pile of, like, alien, like crap. And, like, his face gets in it, and, like, there's doo-doo on him. Like, it should be that. Like, the whole time while I was watching, I thought of that Chappelle Show moment where, like, Dave Chappelle is, like, telling us, like, oh, yeah, now that I'm famous, like, all these famous rappers are hitting me up. They're like, hey, Dave, it's Snoop. I want you to be in my new video. I want you to be walking out and you slip on some doo-doo. Yeah. And, like, that's what it feels like. It's, like, the most pedestrian thing you can do to get a rise out of, like, your audience.
Sure.
And I'm just like, oh, isn't it funny? She slapped Will Smith. Oh, isn't it even funnier that now, but it's not even the most serious thing got her to do. It's like, please stop. But
no,
it's like,
I hear you.
like I said, there's moments like that are just so painfully pedestrian. But at the same time, though, you also get the funny like Andy Warhol moments with Bill Hader, and it's like, okay, at least there are those brief glimpses of like originality.
Sure.
Slightly.
Sure.
Slightly.
No, I mean, yeah, like I said, the Andy Warhol scene was written for me. That fucking line when he's like, if I didn't have the D'Onofrio quote from the first movie, I would have totally said at the start of this episode, and I'm running out of ideas, I'm painting soup cans. I fucking love that line so much. And he's like, hey, you gotta get me out of here. You gotta fake my death. Like, that is wonderful. And I will go to bat that, you know, the best Andy Warhol, somebody playing Andy Warhol is Bill Hader, because I love that joke so goddamn much. But no, I mean, to get back to when you said that scene, you know, and that whole thing at the factory when the movie starts moving, I think that, you know, the movie literally picks up speed with the Griffin character, with how fast he's talking, with how much, like, information he's giving and stuff like that about, I mean, maybe another thing to mention is this is our time travel series. Not only do we have the physical time travel of, you know, physically getting Will Smith back to a different time, but we also have what do they call him? A fifth dimensional being, an Arcanian, and you know, he can see all these different universes and stuff like that. That's such a fun idea, and they play with it so fantastically. I mean, I could totally see, you know, people getting annoyed with the Griffin character. I think wrongfully so. I think he's a lot of fun, and I'm glad you agree with me on that aspect. But I love the whole idea that he's always like, oh, unless it's the timeline where this happens, but in that case, we should do this and that the other thing. And then even when he gets kidnapped by Boris, he's like, when Boris is coming by on the motorcycle in Shea Stadium, he's like, you know, he's like, oh, I forgot to see this one coming, or something along those lines. And it's like, oh, that's fun. Even this crazy creature that has like this love for seeing all these different outcomes, and he has like these moments in human history, even he is fallible, you know? And it's just, oh god, it's so good.
Yeah, no, he's a fun character. I kind of don't like how he looks with his hat on. Like, that's kind of like off-putting, where he's like the tendril head.
Ooh, yeah, a little what's it? Ex Machina with it's like just the skin with like here it's nothing. You know, there's like an opening in his head, but in the Ex Machina of the Alicia Vikander robot, it's like almost the same design, but instead of empty space, it's like the metal plates or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
that was a little icky. I'm like, ugh, I don't like that. And like the CGI isn't that good either. So his like face is flat.
Yes, it looks like he's wearing the weird like green screen cap or something, and you can tell it's keyed out, and it's not. There's a few CGI moments in this that were a little wonky to me. I'm with you there, absolutely. I'm like, I think I'm with you. I'm like, put the hat back on. Put the hat back on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh god, I don't want to be the reference person, but like okay, this is a weird reference, but I have to make it.
Sure.
Like, what's that moment from Scary Movie 2 where was it Marlon Wayans like having sex with the demon with the weird face, and like we cut back to like he puts like the paper bag on her head, and she tries to take it off, and he's like, no, don't fuck it up, don't fuck it up.
Yep.
Like, that's kind of what it feels like. I'm like, I like this character. Don't take your hat off. Like, don't fuck it up. Put it back on.
Yes, absolutely. Even with him in the ending, like I mentioned earlier, you know, the first two have that, oh, there's something bigger going on here. And, you know, I wish we had another touch of that at the end of this movie, but I'm okay with the fact that, you know, like Jay and Kay reconcile at the very end in the diner, and then he's like, this is my new favorite moment in human history, unless this is the timeline where Kay forgets to leave a tip, and then it zooms out to, like, the asteroid, but then Kay leaves the tip, and it, like, you know, the asteroid hits a satellite or whatever, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, but I wish we had another notion of, like, how big things can be, you know, that idea, because I mean, the one at the end of the second one with the locker is fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I definitely kind of can see some people saying Griffin is annoying, but I think the opposite. I mean, if I haven't put the clip in already,
I think he's also used sparingly. Like, he's not.
Yeah.
It's not like the worms in part 2 that just like keep going on and on and on with like their gags and stuff. No, I think he's used, and I think he's also, again, he's a very, what do you want to call it? He's not cynical or jaded. Like, that's the thing about all these movies. Every character is cynical and jaded.
Yeah, that's
and
a good point.
And that's the thing I think is so refreshing about the Josh Brolin part of this movie, is that it becomes very kind of, it sheds that. And that's where, again, I can't speak to Men in Black International, but if I had to guess, I would say they did not learn that. They did not continue that lesson from the third film. I would imagine Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson are probably very snide and jaded.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Tessa Thompson starts as, you know, more of the innocent wonder, but then kind of, you know, gets more jaded. Yeah, Jesus Christ, I remember so little of that movie, and I don't want to watch it ever again. But no, I mean,
can we please talk real quick?
Like,
I feel like I don't want to jump too far ahead, but can I say my main memory from Men in Black International, which I've never seen, is the fact that, like, on the press tour for that movie, Liam Neeson was like, yeah, like, if somebody like beat up and like what did he say? Like, if somebody like beat up and killed my wife of like a certain like ethnic persuasion, like I would have murdered them. And it was like, what the hell? Where did you remember that, right?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Like, it came out of nowhere. Everyone was just like, what the hell? Like where did this like? It's like, Liam Neeson, what happened? Like, what does this have to do with anything? Like.
I'll tell you a story. This is true. I'm not going to use any names, but I was away and I came back. And she told me she had been raped, but she handled the situation of the rape in the most extraordinary way. But my immediate reaction was, I asked, did she know who it was? No. What color were they? She said it was a black person. I went up and down areas with a cosh, hoping I'd be approached by somebody. I'm ashamed to say that. And I did it for maybe a week, hoping some black bastard would come out of a pub and have a go at me about something, you know, so that I could kill him. And it took me a week, maybe a week and a half to kind of go for that. And she said to me, where are you going? I said, I'm just going out for a walk, you know. She said, what's wrong? No, nothing's wrong, fine. And it was horrible when I think back, but I did that. And I've never admitted that to it. I'm saying it to a journalist, God forbid.
Holy shit.
It's awful. But I did learn a lesson from it when I eventually thought, what the fuck are you doing, you know? And I come from a society, I grew up in Northern Ireland in the Troubles, and I knew a couple of guys that died on hunger strike, and I had acquaintances that were very caught up in the Troubles. And I understand that need for revenge, but it just leads to more revenge and more killing and more killing. And, you know, Northern Ireland is proof of that, you know. All the stuff that's happening in the world at the minute, the violence is proof of that, you know. So it's but that's, yeah, primal need. I understand.
You can relate to that.
Oh god, I remember that for like I saw like what was like a week, like Liam Neeson was a racist, and then like it kind of just dissipated. And was like, yeah, like he plays a lion in a couple movies. We kind of like Liam Neeson.
I don't know, maybe he thought
his daughter
on...
got kidnapped a few times.
I was about to say maybe he thought he was on the press tour for one of the Taken movies and thought he was still in character or something, you know. He's like,
guys, I don't hate black people, it's Albanians. They've kidnapped my daughter like 7 times now. Like, you try saving your daughter, you too would hate Albanians. Yeah. That gets so surreal.
Oh,
that's the main highlight for the Men in Black.
God, I remember him being horrible in International, like just so checked out. I mean, I think everybody's checked out in that movie. I mean, oh, God, yeah. Rafe Spall's in that movie, and I'm just like, he's not selling dinosaurs, you know? Oh, God, yeah, that movie. Rose the Hat's in that movie. Oh, it's terrible.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
It's terrible. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to highlight it because I love it so much. If I haven't put the clip in already, I will include it. The speech or the monologue that Griffin gives at Shea Stadium about like what miracles are and stuff. I love it, you know? Like it's so, like you said, he's not cynical. He's innocent. He's full of wonder. He's happy about, you know, seeing all these timelines and stuff.
So this is how you see things. This is amazing.
It's a gigantic pain in the ass. But it has its moments.
Wait, this game doesn't happen till October.
Well, it's always October and November and March. So many futures, and they're all real. Just don't know which one will coalesce. Until then, they're all happening. Like this one, it's my favorite moment in human history. All the things that had to converge for the Mets to win the World Series, they were in last place every single season until they won it all.
You said you had a gift for us.
That baseball, for instance, thrown for the last out of Game 5, manufactured in 1962 by the Spalding factory of Chicopee, Massachusetts, was aerodynamically flawed due to the horsehide being improperly tanned because Sheila, the tanner's wife, left him for a Puerto Rican golf pro that Sunday.
The gift?
See, oh, yes, of course, in the box. It's the surprise. To protect the Earth, it's the shield.
Shield. Arcanan ArcNet. That's what you did. You put up the ArcNet. How did I do that?
When that ball is pitched to Davy Johnson, who only became a baseball player because his father couldn't find a football to give him for his 8th birthday, it hits his bat 2 micrometers too high, causing him to pop out to Cleon Jones, who would have been born Clara, a statistical typist, if his parents didn't have an extra glass of wine that night before going to bed. A miracle is what seems impossible but happens anyway.
But he's not, like, dumb innocent, you know? Or, I mean, you know, yeah, dumb innocent. He's not, like, comedically stupid or anything. He actually has some sense that's almost refreshing in these movies, for sure. I dig him. I love him, you know? And
he's a fun character.
To know that it's Michael Stuhlbarg, that blows me away. At least from what I've seen Michael Stuhlbarg in. But yeah, I mean, you know, I was pleasantly surprised, but I on rewatching this, but I definitely pick up what you're putting down, where it's just kind of like, you know, like, why was it made? Like you said at the start, I think that's the question. Is like, you know, maybe you answered it with the Barry Sonnenfeld stuff that you brought up, is that, you know, he wanted it to be this big hurrah to get him back in good graces or whatever, and it just didn't happen. And I don't think this movie was, like, very poorly received. I think it's the highest grossing of the 3 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you know, Men in Black 3, it's there, and it's the last in the franchise.
Oh God, yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
I didn't like in Men in Black 3, I didn't like the jetpack stuff to get to Cape Canaveral. I thought that was pretty goofy.
Yeah.
Because that just kind of comes out of nowhere. I did like the big neuralizer in Men in Black headquarters, where they put him in, like, the big centrifuge, Will Smith in the big centrifuge type thing. I thought that was interesting that they have, like, you know, they haven't refined the technology yet. They push it a little too far with the portable one with the battery pack at the end. Mm-hmm. Specifically, though, I did enjoy that in the portable neuralizer, he has to, like, wire up the battery pack, and it makes the dial-up internet noise.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, is that, like, the thing that makes, again, like, it's funny, but, like, clearly somebody during, like, sound design was just like, what's a sound that's funny that people will recognize?
Yeah.
Internet dial-up. It's like, that doesn't make sense.
I'm with you there, absolutely.
It's just that, again, it's oh God, it's almost like a version of, like, a non sequitur of comedy. Like, it's just there because, like, oh yeah, like, it's irreverent.
Exactly. Yep. Also, in contrast to the first one, while I liked the line where they say, you know, the Men in Black is kept afloat because we have the patent on Velcro, microwaves, and liposuction, I was like, those are some crazy ideas. Like, I don't really know how, like, Velcro got invented. You know, I think there's some history with, like, you know, the microwave oven coming out of, you know, some of the research that, like, you know, the Germans did post World War II and stuff like that. I mean, liposuction just seems like somebody was like, well, fuck it, we got to find a way to get skinnier. But what do they do in this movie? The Viagrans have a revolutionary new pill, and I was like, boo, movie, boo. Like, you were clever with, like, you know, fucking, like, Velcro, microwaves, and liposuction. Those are 3 incredibly different things. I'm doing thumbs down over here, just so everybody knows, Zach. But it's like, those are 3 incredibly different things that come out of the wall. It's like, that's just like goofy for goofy's sake. That's fine, even though it's a fun line, because they're like, you know, this is how we make our money, you know, that type of thing. But then it's like, everybody fucking knows what Viagra is. To call the race the Viagrans is fucking stupid. And you can't pick Viagra either, because I think the story about Viagra is a well-known one, that they were trying to make, you know, heart medication or blood pressure medication, and it turned out to give people boners. Like, everybody knows that story. You can't turn that into an alien invention. Oh, God, it's so dumb. Like, pick anything else.
Cialis.
Cialis. There we go. That would be better, at least, because people don't know the story, and it's a little more obscure of a name.
But they don't get the joke, the easy like joke cred, because people wouldn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. What I did like, though, which of course Zach will have to know I enjoyed. I don't like the implication that it's an alien, because it is a wonderful real-life creature. The blobfish in the first act of the movie. Love the blobfish. I love blobfish in general. I gave a presentation on blobfishes once in high school. But, I love the blobfish. I don't like like I said, I don't like that it's an alien, but I do like we get to see one. Love the blobfish, Zach.
Yes, Rob. I was there at Ground Zero when he discovered the blobfish back in high school. I was there.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's an interesting movie. I remembered it relying more on time travel than it did, which I enjoy that it didn't really, come down to that. And overall, I think, once again, I'm just a sucker for the Men in Black trilogy. And, I guess then, if there's nothing else you wanted to mention about Oh, sure.
We got to talk about the theme song for Men in Black 3.
Oh, yes. Good. I'm glad you reminded me of the music. So are you talking about the Pitbull Back in Time song?
Okay, it's not I don't know who a Pitbull is. It's Peach Bowl.
Mr. Worldwide?
Yeah, Mr. Oh, what was it? I was still saying Mr. 845, but we know that's not right. I don't even know. What's the area code for Miami? Alexa, what's the area code for Miami?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Wikipedia.org, area code 305 is the area code for all...
305, yeah, Mr. 305. There we go,
yep.
And the part of
Alexa, shut up.
Alexa, play Cinemodities.
You get what the revert? Oh God, what is that? The feedback sound all of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Mr. 305. Peach Bowl.
Yeah, but so I'm glad you reminded me of this, because I think it was before we started recording that I said that when the end credits for Men in Black 3 started playing. Of course, I always watch the credits for everything we discuss. To either pick up names and stuff like that, or to see if there's a post-credit scene, or just to let it run while I'm finishing the notes. As the song starts, it has that faux retro feeling of there's some sample that they use which I didn't look up or anything like that, but it has that feeling of Zach knows I love Saint Motel and that faux retro sound and a pretty good beat, and I'm like, okay, what is this? I kind of like this. And then Pitbull comes in, and it's basically I think Pitbull is two very small steps away from DJ Khaled, where all he can really do is scream his own name. And I was like, oh no. Instant deflation.
I can still remember when this film was in production. I was like, oh man, maybe, because again, I liked Men in Black theme song.
Yeah.
I love the theme for the second film. I always liked that one. And I'm like, oh man, this is okay, maybe we'll get something good out of this. And I wasn't doing one. There was a bunch of articles at the time regarding it. And then Pitbull, it was announced Pitbull's the theme song. And I'm like, who cares? No. Don't even have a theme song then. It's just, again, Rob, if Rob hasn't already, he'll insert some of the Pitbull Men in Black 3 song.
Back in time.
Miami equals black mask, black gloves with a little bit of rope to tie. I flipped it, black suits, white shirts, black glasses with a matching tie, like Agent J or Agent K, and I wish the whole world would. Okay, I'm trying to make $1 billion out of 15 cents. Understand, understood, I'm a hoe, yeah, mover, shaker, culture, barrier border, record breaker, won't you? Give credit where credit is due, don't you? Know that I don't give a number two.
But it's just nothing. It's just Pitbull talking over a melody. It's not even rapping. It's just it's glorified spoken word.
Absolutely. And that, I think, I'm not a Pitbull fan in any way, shape, or form.
Pitbull, oh God, what would you even call it? Pitbull is what, the RC Cola of sodas? or of rap? In that sense? It is just the most watered down. There's nothing to it. I'm so glad that he must be on the side of a highway somewhere with a sign that says "I was famous once," right?
Yeah, I think so.
He hasn't done anything, right?
No,
I'm not doubting that he doesn't make music, but he hasn't done anything noteworthy in, the last 5 years?
Definitely. He popped up, very quickly and disappeared very quickly, I think.
Oh, okay, the last thing I remember him doing, it's another movie tie-in song. Oh my God, I completely forgot about this. Rob will have to insert a clip of it after I have described it. For Aquaman, he did a tie-in theme song, and it's a weird cover of Toto's Africa.
He was the one who did the the Africa cover? Oh my God, I remember that.
Not Weezer. Right? Was it Weezer or Fall Out Boy that did the cover of Africa?
Yeah, Weezer has, on their cover album, Weezer has a cover of that one, yeah.
Well, hey, Rob has to find this and put this in.
I forgot about that.
and you have to have it begin at the beginning of the song where it's him, like weirdly narrating the song.
I totally forgot about that cover, and that's not. I don't even think that's egregious because I don't really love that song. I know it's like a meme song. The internet goes crack for it, but I mean, even just like giving that to Pitbull is such a strange decision.
It's weird. It's a weird song because it was a tie-in song for Aquaman, and how it's used in that movie is even more inexplicable.
They tried to get rid of me, but from ocean to ocean, they gonna have to deal with me. I've been overlooked, stepped on, left for dead. Always against all odds, like Pac said. I'm the living great Gatsby, but these boys are watching quick and disappear like Banksy. From ocean to ocean, sea to sea, I'm something that you gotta see.
Gonna take a lot to drag me away from you.
Is that the scene when they go to the desert when they're
yes,
looking for the? Okay,
yes,
yeah, I was coming
and
back
it's him and Amber Heard just like wandering around the desert, and it's like it's gonna take a lot to take me away from you. Like, what is happening?
Is Pitbull? Do you know? Is Pitbull a flat earther?
A real dog? No.
Is he?
I'm not sure which one's more crazy. What you said or I said.
I feel like there's some like rapper / pop or hip hop artist that's a flat earther. I gotta look this up because I don't remember if it's Pitbull or not. Hold on, let's see.
I like how I'm
it's Bob. It's B.O.B. Bob is a flat earther. He's a flat earther, not Pitbull. Okay. Well, he might be. It just might not be on the internet.
He's closeted about his flat eartherness.
Hey, you can believe if anything you want. I think the Earth being flat falls into my dinosaur thing. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you think if the Earth is flat or not. It's irrelevant,
Can I really quick just I was explaining to Rachel your opinion on dinosaurs and how over the course of 3 going on 4 years, it went from why very academically asking, why is there a need to study dinosaurs, these creatures that lived millions, if not billions of years ago? What is the scientific need to learn more about these creatures? To 4 years later, this never existed.
Yeah, once people started getting angry at me when I would joke that dinosaurs don't exist, I just doubled down.
Oh, folks, I cannot wait for Jurassic World 3, Secrets of Dumbledore.
Oh, yeah, there was a poster for it, which was just the fucking Jurassic Park logo at the theater when I saw the Batman. So, yeah, what is that, June? Oh, God.
Yeah, it's coming, Rob.
Like you were saying,
3 months?
like when we were talking about Euphoria, where we were like, what the hell can we do to push Euphoria back? How do we push that movie back? That's not a rip the Band-Aid off situation. I don't want that. I don't want Jurassic World 3, Jurassic Park 6 Boogaloo to come out ever. This is a bummer. Apparently Thomas Dolby's a flat earther. Thomas Dolby's the guy who sings She Blinded Me with Science.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's fucked up that he's a flat earther. Not that it matters.
It's ironic.
Tila Tequila's a flat earther.
Can we add that to the Tatler profile? Can we?
Oh. Okay, yeah, we're real close to the 4-year extravaganza. We gotta figure out some flat earthers. This can't be right. Shaq is not a flat earther. Shaq does not know what the Earth is. Oh God. Okay.
Is there anything else about these Men in Black movies or?
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. I was not actually trying to set up our questions just yet. With these 2 movies done, I figured this would be the better time to bring this up instead of Men in Black 2, where we would have a plethora of goofiness to talk about. This seems to be more of the franchise episode. Did you ever watch the animated series? That's what I wanted to ask you about.
I didn't. Maybe in passing once or twice, but I literally have no memory of it. I know it was a thing.
Yeah.
But no. I did not.
That's the same thing with me. I barely remember it. I think I've only seen an episode.
Well, it was
here
on
or there.
It was on Kids WB during like the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah,
era.
I think that's probably why I caught some of it when I was trying to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day. But yeah, I wanted to know if you'd ever seen any of it, because I did do a little research into it for this, and I want to see if I can find it somewhere, maybe like watch an episode or two. But one of the things I wanted to mention about it was apparently, it doesn't seem to have like an overarching story or anything like that. It seems like, maybe there's like an arc in a few episodes, but it seemed to just be like, oh, here's the alien of the week or something like that. But it turns out that whenever a member of the bug species is on that show, it is voiced by Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh,
yeah, so that's kind of what made me want to dive into it more, because if we get some more great, D'Onofrio bug dialogue, I would love to hear it.
If I remember correctly, that show was like the X-Files, but for kids.
Yes, I think that's what I read, some synopses of it, and like I said, Alien of the Week versus Monster of the Week with X-Files for sure, absolutely, and yeah, X-Files is a good connection to this, even though they were FBI and not Men in Black. But sure. Did they ever encounter the Men in Black in X-Files? Oh, I don't think like explicitly. I'm sure that there's some episodes where like Mulder talks about how like the Men in Black might be related to like the members of the syndicate, like the humans that are working with the aliens for the aliens to take over the Earth. But I don't think it's ever like explicit. Like I don't think there's an episode devoted to him or anything like that. Yeah, because there's no like the X-Files might have the X-Files would have been after it. There's no like there's a mention of it, but no episode dedicated to like the Polybius machine, like the arcade machine that made people go crazy. And I know that's tied to like the Men in Black lore and stuff like that. But no, I think the X-Files lore forgoes the Men in Black and places just like, oh, it's this division of the FBI.
Okay.
Hey kids, Rob here, during the editing process, very mad at himself that when Zack brought up the X-Files and the concept of the Men in Black, I did not remember that in the wonderful episode of the X-Files, Jose Chung's From Outer Space, we do get someone telling a story where they encountered the Men in Black, and in that episode, the two people playing these so-called Men in Black are none other than Jesse Ventura and Alex Trebek. I really wish I would have remembered this in the moment, because I'm sure Zack would have got a kick out of it. So hopefully when he listens back to this episode, he'll have some fun with it.
Okay.
I did, back in the day, play the Game Boy Advance Men in Black game, which was related to the animated show. I remember that very vividly, where you could pick up different weapons, and you could pick up the noisy cricket, and when you'd shoot it, it was a side-scroller, like a side-scroller platformer type of thing, and when you'd shoot it, you would like get pushed back, like Will Smith, falls back in the movie and stuff like that. I remember that for some reason. I don't think I have that game anymore. It probably got lost in the shuffle somewhere. But yeah, I think it was because I played that and got it because I liked the movie so much, But I was thinking of that with how much I loved the movie when I was a kid. I didn't really watch the animated show a lot, which I was surprised to think back on.
Probably was also a weird hour, probably, if I had to guess. Probably 3 or 4 o'clock. Probably like a weird hour to probably have to again, even as a kid, like anybody can tell you, there are certain times where some of these shows would air that it made it almost impossible to watch unless you set the VCR for it.
Yeah, definitely. Yep. But yeah, I mean, it's, I think, I think this franchise is probably dead. I think that's the last thing I want to say in terms of the franchise.
Well, Rob, if we're going to go a little bit outside,
yes.
like ancillary media, there's the theme park ride at Universal Studios Orlando.
Sure, okay.
It's got a little baby, like New York World's Fair, like the flying saucers.
Okay, that's cool.
I went on that ride once because it always had a long line, and it is severely underwhelming.
Okay,
right. And it's one of the rare instances at Universal Studios Orlando that, I think 20 years later, 25 years later, it is still there. Like, it is,
wow,
they've demolished Jaws, they've gotten rid of Terminator, all these, kind of rides that you would, are so, you would think, more culturally noteworthy because the films they're based on. Nope, Men in Black, still there. Still there and still popular, oddly enough, considering there hasn't really been a successful film in the franchise for a decade.
Is it just a ride, or is it one of those you got to shoot the things?
Justice League, Rob.
Okay,
it's Justice League, both aliens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which kind of runs antithetical to the point the first film is trying to make.
Yeah, that's a good point. Can you shoot little Susie or Sally or whatever it is?
The problem is the only time I went on that ride was like sometime in 2003, maybe.
Okay.
Once. And I have literally no memory of it other than I did really bad on it, and like I just did not like it.
Gotcha.
I think it had very little to do with Men in Black. Like I think it was like the idea of like, oh, like I don't even think Tommy Lee Jones or Will Smith are even featured. I think it's very, very generic. Like it's just the logo. Like it's in the creature designs. That's it. Like it's the logo and the creature designs. And I remember like in the gift shop they had like a toy neuralizer that I wanted to buy.
Oh, okay. Oh, I think the memories are flooding back. I think some girl in my elementary school like came in with a toy neuralizer one day. That for some reason I remember that. Yeah, this is baked in nostalgia for me in this episode, if that wasn't abundantly clear. But yeah, I think that's everything I want to say about the franchise. I mean, like we've been saying, tune in a few months, you know, when we hit our 2002 Fort month. You know, I don't think we're spoiling anything there. I think people had to know that our cinema audience had to know that was coming. Yeah, we're going to cover Men in Black 2. I will get to talk a lot about Donna Hayward from Twin Peaks, Lara Flynn Boyle herself. I look forward to it. But now, at this point, we've finished 3 Barry Sonnenfeld movies. Tune in next week for our 9 Lives episode.
Rob, how many Stanley Kubrick movies have we covered?
Oh, just one, right? Still?
How many David Lynch films have we covered?
3. One you were not there for.
But still, it's the okay, Rob, what other filmmakers? How many Steven Spielberg? How many Martin Scorsese? How many
Verhoeven's we've done a good bit of, a handful, I should say.
Kind of bonkers the weird things that like we've covered on this podcast.
Yeah, I mean, but Zach, we gotta get to 9 Lives. We gotta get to Get Shorty, which isn't that bad of a movie, but I mean, it doesn't really fit the format of this podcast at all.
No.
What does fit, though, with Barry Sonnenfeld, something I've been telling Zach for a while, I think the 2 Addams Family movies are very odd and very enjoyable, and I think we should cover those one day. And I've never seen 9 Lives, but 9 Lives seems like something we would have a field day with.
I don't know. Like, Kevin Spacey is so icky now. Like, I don't think I could enjoy that. Like, he's responsible for somebody's death, allegedly.
Sure. But, I mean, wouldn't you want the chance to let him be Frank?
I say.
Absolutely.
Fun fact, folks, that is, it's Kevin Spacey in that 1-minute YouTube video is what Daniel Craig based his entire performance on from Knives Out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say.
Oh, God, absolutely. Oh, my God, we're talking about 9 Lives. I mean, we have to cover 9 Lives in the addition that throughout that whole episode, I will talk about how Kevin Spacey plays a pet cat. Okay, well, with all those tangents and stuff out of the way, are you ready for questions, Zach?
Oh, I was born ready.
Okay. So, I think this one is going to be one of those where I have some discussion for these, but I think, you know, cinemodities, so Men in Black and Men in Black 3, I think separating them, this is the answer to both. I think both of them are not cinemodities. I think that, you know, with this whole discussion about how I agree with the issues you have with both of them, specifically the first one, you've convinced me of some certain, or maybe made me realize what I've always thought, but just kind of, you know, subjectively went along with the popcorn nature of that movie. I don't think they're cinemodities. I don't want to cite a precedent that they were successful so they can't be cinemodities. I just fundamentally don't think there's anything odd about them. Now, this is where I'm a little torn. My late night movies, I did watch these pretty close together, like I said, in the trilogy, and I had a grand old time. And I know that if I sat down with some of my friends or some people that really like Men in Black and watched this trilogy, we would have a grand old time. It would be good fun, I think. In that sense, it's a late-night movie for me because I would use it. You know, if I had the chance to put it on for some people, I would use it. But, of course, I think of what we said, this would be, I think, hard-pressed, at least with the people I'm hanging out with, hard-pressed to find this as an original viewing. You had it with Rachel, like you said, but I think we've established that Rachel has seen, before she met you, maybe 2 movies in her life or something like that. So yes. I don't know if that counts. But I'm on the fence because, yes, I'm with you still, fundamentally. Late-night movies should not be a rewatch for all parties involved. I think it'd be tough to find anybody who has not seen the first one. Maybe a little easier to find somebody who hasn't seen the second or third or something like that. But I think I'm going to go no for late night for both of them as well because of that idea. And it's not good enough for me where I know I broke that rule when we did The Matrix, where I said any of the Matrix movies are late-night movies, and I'm going to put them on because I want to watch them. I don't care what anybody else does. This does not reach that level for me. That there are still things that we've discussed and, we will discuss in the future that are late-night movies that are well worth putting on, even if they are a rewatch, I think. But this does not fit it for me. So I'm going no to all 4 questions. Cinema is late night across the board. What do you think, Zach?
I'm going to say yes to Cinemati for the first film, no to Men in Black 3 for a Cinemati, and no to Late Night Movie across the board.
Okay.
The first movie is a Cinemati for the Blade Runner precedent, as in, this is a movie nobody should like. It is an objectively bad movie with some clever elements, more on creature design, Rick Baker. But I think I would say 95% of people who like this film that are above the age of reason, so 5, 6,
sure,
only like it because of nostalgia. There's no practical reason to like this film.
Sure. I hear you. Okay. No, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I don't have it pulled up or anything, but the first one was very successful financially and critically, right?
Yeah. Oh, no, that first film. No, that film had, well-liked, made money.
Sure,
couldn't ask for a better film in that sense.
And so you're kind of taking the breaking of the Total Recall precedent because there's no reason to like this movie. It was successful, so it's
the Total
Recall precedent also seems archaic to us now, right?
Well, yeah. Again, that was implemented 4 years ago.
Yes,
that was. And I do think that I still subscribe to the notion that something makes again. It's weird. We've reached a point in the culture where Avengers Endgame was kind of the thing that I think eventually broke that, because it's the idea something now being that universally acclaimed and makes so much money is so rare. It's peculiar. It's almost become 2019 kind of broke a lot of the rules and preconceived notions I had about cinema.
Absolutely.
Where it's kind of strange to think that the 25,000th film in the saga of the Avengers and Marvel somehow became the highest grossing. Well, not anymore. Avatar is again the highest grossing film of all time. But it was weird to think about the 27th film was the one that made all this money. It had all this baggage. And then 2 months later you have the Lion King remake that nobody likes. It's nobody's favorite film. Really, there's nothing positive said about it. Yet it makes $1.6 billion. And it's how is a movie that's universally disliked become the second highest grossing movie of the year? How is that possible? It's a weird antithesis of the Total Recall precedent.
Sure,
it's the inverse of it. But no, I'm going to say yes to Cinemati for Men in Black,
okay.
Uno, just because I think it's one of those movies that if you actually had someone look at it in an academic, objective sense, there's no reason to explain why this caught on, other than just Will Smith stardom.
That's fair. No, I understand what you're saying. As a quick rebuttal, a pet cat. Okay, are you ready for snacks, Zach?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I said it earlier. I'll say it right here because I already set it up, and I want to keep going with it. Sugar in water. Just sugar water. We gotta do it. It's so easy. It'd probably be fucking disgusting. And even when D'Onofrio drinks the sugar water in the shot, you can see all that clumpy wet sugar that's left in the glass and stuff like that, and he guzzles it down. Oh my god, it's great. But I mean, I think it's fine. We should just take it as it is, just sugar and water or sugar or water with sugar.
Okay. Oh, here's my question though.
Sure.
This is my thing though. I have to ask you, as you know, Rob, when they make soda, because think about it, oh god, what 8 ounces of soda has something like Mountain Dew has 63 grams of sugar in it.
Yeah.
Which is something you if you were to put 63 grams of sugar in 8 ounces of water, it wouldn't be able to dissolve. As Rob knows, but the audience might not. You have to heat liquids to a certain temperature for them to absorb the most amount of sugar possible.
Yep.
Should we do something like that?
Ooh. Oh, I like that. Let's take it a step further, and God, this is from high school chemistry. I don't know the ins and outs of it, because I'm not a chemistry person, but there is such a thing as super saturating a liquid, and I know it involves heating it up. Are you saying we go that far, or do you want to go that far where we super saturate water with sugar?
So much saturation.
I like that. A super saturated beverage. Okay, I can get behind that. I think that's good, and I think that's a good connection to the first movie and what I want, so that's perfect. Also on that same line, I would love to serve, we should just call it Beatrice's Lemonade, which is just like, lemonade made without any sugar. So it just tastes like lemon and water, lemon juice and water or whatever it would be, which I would love, but it seems like a lot of people wouldn't. In terms of other food, I'm going off the first movie right now. The baby squid that Jay helps deliver in that movie, that thing's got to be delicious. Right?
just raw, or are we making some calamari?
I'm thinking some calamari. Like, we could take tentacles, maybe, fry them up in the rings and that type of stuff. Maybe get more of a, I've only had it once. It kind of blew me away. I think I've told you this before, Zach, but when I went to Hawaii and I just stopped in a restaurant for lunch when I had some time, they had fried calamari. And I was like, oh boy, I love fried calamari. And I'm expecting the, New York style, fried rings, which is with some marinara or some tartar sauce or whatever. I guess the Italian fried calamari, They gave me straight up hunks of squid deep fried, and it was fucking awesome. So I say we do a little bit of both, maybe a squid steak. I'm sure you can cook that up. I know you can cook that up, that type of thing. But yeah, just that, whatever his Reggie's species is and whatever that squid baby is, just let's eat it up. I am totally about, I think we said it before, that in the real world, if aliens ever landed on planet Earth, there'd be a group of people who were like, okay, what do they taste like? There'd be the group of people who were like, what do they taste like? There'd be the group of people who would be like, how do we fuck them? There'd be a group of people who would be like, oh, they have rights now because they're here. I'm a part of the eat group, so let's just do it in the restaurant. And I guess that ties into the third movie. I want to just, let's get rid of that thing that Kay says to Woo, where he says, what, Earth people get Earth food? Fuck that. Let's go. Earth people get some alien food. Alien people get Earth food. Whatever. Let's just go balls to the wall. There's no restriction here.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to take it one step further. Every time we go through, MIB customs, that should just be a buffet, man. That's us going to Restaurant Depot.
Ooh,
that's
okay.
just oh man, we just wait outside wherever that I don't know, the terminal is.
Sure.
That's something I never been able to figure out about Men in Black. We see the concourse with everybody's checking into customs. How do you, is there an airport?
I have no. I was asking the same questions because it's really more pronounced in the second one because you can see a Sprint store and a Burger King in the background.
Oh, yeah.
But even in the first one, it weirded me out because it is customs. You see Carol Stryken bringing in any fruits or vegetables. That whole little bit happens when Will Smith first enters. But then the customs area is right next to a bunch of worker desks, clerical aid desks, and then the big command center screen. It's all one room. And I'm I don't understand this at all.
Yeah, the bureaucracy is non-existent. It's literally just a room full of people.
Yeah, exactly. But okay, so you're saying the whatever it be, the
I think we should just wait. Basically, we kind of we're predators. We wait outside where the taxis line up outside an airport, and we're just free rides.
Perfect. I'm all about
we have
that.
an unmarked van that literally has spray painted on the side, not even with the stencil. It just says free rides.
I like that. Perfect. Okay.
And what others?
Yeah.
Okay, you still doing your snacks?
I got a few more.
Okay.
So maybe for the restaurant, I'm sure. That somewhere in there we have some variation of coffee. I think coffee has to be involved somewhere. Maybe if it's not just coffee, it's used something like that. I think that, as the coffee mongers, coffee connoisseurs, I didn't look up or know what the word is if you are an expert in coffee. I'm sure there's some actual term for it. But maybe in our restaurant for all the coffee, you have those people who are oh, we got to test the beans, maybe a coffee sommelier or something like that, they got to test the beans, they got to pick the best batch, they're really curating the coffee for the restaurant. We should have the worm guys because they make coffee in the first movie. Mm-hmm. And so I think that we should hire the worm guys for the restaurant, and they should be our coffee sommeliers. What do you think?
Okay.
And, of course, I know, once again, Zach, excuse me, it's from the second movie, but I think it applies to all three. Once you go worm, that's what you'll yearn. I also want to have, because it gave me some Wild Wild West vibes, of course, I gotta go back to the cake in the third movie, Zach. The jiggling cake, of course, has Boris the Animal's, hand face hugger inside of it, and that's what helps him break out. gave me big Wild Wild West vibes. Remember the tarantula cake from
Oh,
Wild
God,
Wild West?
yeah.
So we should have not only now the tarantula cake, because I think it's in the shape of the White House or some shit like that, and tarantulas are inside it. We should have one of these like a birthday type cakes with a face hugger inside of it.
Cool. I like that. How do we bake the cake without killing the face hugger?
So I would imagine that we would do it. I think I tried to explain it in the Wild Wild West episode where we like bake the bottom and top halves of the cake with like wells in them, and then we put the tarantulas or the face hugger in the middle, and then like put the top on. So we bake two halves, and then it becomes like a little box for the thing.
All right, how do we prevent the face hugger from attacking as we're doing this?
I guess we would need like some type of face hugger wrangler. Does that mean we have to hire like a Bogladite to handle this? And then I think the last one I have is a great phrase from the third movie. Emma Thompson says to Will Smith, "Have you been craving chocolatized dairy products?" I like the turn of phrase chocolatized dairy products. So I thought we should include a slew of chocolatized dairy products on the restaurant menu as sides, as maybe, desserts, or as, part of the, if somebody orders something that would include one of these, we would give them a chocolate version. Now, of course, this exists. Chocolate milk, chocolate ice cream. I know there's chocolate fucking whipped cream. You can do chocolate dairy products. It's anything new. I'm talking about, let's take the dairy products that shouldn't be chocolatized. I'm talking cottage cheese. Perfect.
Yes.
Look at that. I'm talking cream cheese. That actually probably exists because I've seen like strawberry cream cheese. So, okay, maybe not that one. I'm talking like American cheese. I'm talking sour cream. I'm talking butter.
Chocolate butter wouldn't be that bad.
I kind of don't know. I'm not a big chocolate fan, but I would try it for sure. But I was thinking, could you imagine you're at a restaurant and you're like, oh, could we get some butter? And you get put down like this stick of butter or a pad of butter that's like brown.
It's covered in brown
Customer would be like, what the fuck is this? I don't even, I'm like, they're like, I know butter can go bad, but does it discolor? But those are the ones I brainstorm. Like you said, cottage cheese. I think the cottage cheese would be a really good one. But any type of cheese, like put some chocolate in it. How we're going to make it. I think that would be a great addition to the restaurant, that we just have like chocolate dairy products that shouldn't be chocolatized. I also like that version of or I don't think that's the right word, but conjugation of chocolatized. But then that was it. That was it for me. Did you have anything else for the restaurant?
I do.
Okay.
And I'm surprised you didn't mention it.
Ooh.
A neuralizer.
Oh, shit. I think I had that thought while watching one of the movies. I didn't write it down. But yes. So how would you want to use it in the restaurant?
Two words.
Okay.
Mariska Hargitay. No liability, baby.
I was about to say, what is this, the Love Guru?
Mariska Hargitay.
Mariska Hargitay. Yes, absolutely.
How many people do you think actually got that joke in 2008?
Oh, nobody.
even when she shows up in the movie.
Doesn't even Mike Myers or the Love Guru, doesn't he have like a Staples "That Was Easy" button? When he hits it, it does the tung tung,
At some point we'll get to the Love Guru.
Yes.
I have a question. What movie did we agree to? I know when we did Mortal Engines, we were like, oh, we'll have to do this movie next for the 200th anniversary that we didn't do. Then for the 200th anniversry, we said like, oh, we're going to do this for the 300th anniversary.
I don't remember.
Which I know we most likely won't do either.
I have to hope I wrote it in the spreadsheet. I don't know what,
right,
I don't know what tab it would be.
Whatever it is, I think we should have to get to the Love Guru at some point.
Definitely. That's a doozy of a movie, and just to talk about Mariska Hargitay, absolutely. But okay, I like that. I like having the neuralizer. I like using it, in the no liability sense. I also think it could be good if maybe something happens to an employee that makes them want to quit.
Yep.
There's a lot of uses for that. Maybe if, somebody is getting too close to the exit of the restaurant, we neuralize them and drop them in the back or something like that.
Exactly. But
the neuralizer's a cool little tech, and I think that's one of the lasting legacies of this movie. Even though I think people don't remember what it's called, there was like, the memory thing from Men in Black, and it's like, oh, the neuralizer, and they're like, what's that? It's the thing you're talking about. But okay.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big one. It's kind of up there with the word processor of the gods.
Absolutely.
Like
yes. It's for like very emergency uses and to make sure the restaurant survives and keeps going and things like that. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, I'm good with, because I didn't want to include it, and it seems like you're not including it. I don't really want to involve any time jumps or anything like that in the restaurant. I know we did in Clock Stoppers, we had the hypo time watch, so we're slowing time down for somebody, or for, whatever the fuck it was. I'm okay with not toying with time travel just yet in the restaurant. That's one of those things that I think is a little dangerous. There was something else we talked about that I thought was dangerous. I don't remember what it is. But it's a big deal when I think something's dangerous in the restaurant.
It is.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, then that brings us to the conclusion where we have to say, well, how are we going to end this episode? I think I'm with you, Zach. We should use the one that gets sampled. What I can't, for some reason,
Forget Me Not.
Forget Me Not. Thank you. Yes, we'll play that in reverse. My thought was the Men in Black theme song, but I think it's probably good enough that
6 to 1, half dozen.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if we play either one in reverse, you'll have the people having the same experience you did with the Rush Limbaugh thing, where you're like, which one are they playing, or what is this? That type of thing. But definitely,
there's a really good chance, depending on what specific part you play, people won't even know.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, right on. Well, since this is the time travel series, and we live in a turnstile world at the Cinemati's restaurant, we are also either at point A or point B of the box's parabolic travel through time. The cinema audience might or might not understand that reference. I don't really know what's coming next week. Depending on when these things get recorded, it could be another time travel movie, or it could be the 4-year extravaganza. I have no clue at this point, but that's part of the fun in the Cinemati's restaurant that we live in, which is totally real. So, I guess with that being said, if everybody, come support our trip through time through the Cinemati's Patreon, if you want to hear even more episodes of Cinemati's about movies, TV shows, just random ramblings that we throw together and call an episode because we don't have anything for that release date. It's all good fun. I always say cinemodities.com. We don't have a domain yet. Patreon.com/cinemodities. And of course, if you want to harass us, or I should say in this episode, if you're a diehard fan for Men in Black and want to harass Zack, I will definitely pass the email along to him. You can email us at cinemodities@gmail.com. And as always, be sure to check out the Cinemodities subreddit, reddit.com/r/cinemodities for more information about the show. Zach, any final words on Men in Black, or until we cover 2, Men in Black 2? Oh, speaking of which, Men in Black 2 has the Roman numerals, and Men in Black 3 has the number. That bothers the shit out of me.
Isn't Men in Black 3 called technically Men in Black 3, like Back in Time?
Maybe? I don't know. I feel
like I just might have made that up.
Let's see, because I got it pulled up. So, according to Wikipedia, it is Men in Black 3 stylized as Men in Black Cubed.
Whoa. It's like Alien Cube.
I know. I didn't realize that. Even on the poster with Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, and Will Smith, it's MIB Cubed. But there's no parentheses around the MIB, so it might be MIB Cubed.
Whoa.
That's the
so
order
it's
of operation.
MIBBB?
MIBBB.
So it's Men in Black, Black, Black?
No, I was going to say Men in Better Business Bureau. Oh man, okay, good. I'm glad you pulled that up so I could make that joke, because I love the cube thing, like alien, alien times alien. But yes, everybody tune in later on when we get to talk about Lara Flynn Boyle and Johnny Knoxville. Oh boy, aren't you excited? There's going to be a good bit of aliens in the 2002 Fort Month, or maybe not a good bit, but some. Wait,
Fair
no,
enough.
I'm thinking of 3. There's 3. The animated one I was forgetting has an alien in it.
Yeah. And technically, if we're going to be talking about Christopher Walken and the Country Bears, that's 4.
Oh my God. Everybody tune in. It's going to be the year of the aliens.